Good afternoon from San Francisco, the Beach Street Yacht Club, Studio B here for our show number, 873 on Friday, the 10th of October. I'm your host, Tom Eamon, and sitting alongside, as usual, is our co-host, coordinating producer, Julia Vadakin, with a new mic in front of her.
Oh, it's very exciting.
And it's nice to have you on. Standing patiently by in Auckland, New Zealand, is our esteemed guest today, and been on over a year, I think, Richard Gladwell, who will be joining us live from Auckland. Delighted to have him on. Peter Stevenson is in the chat, where spring has sprung in Sydney on a glorious summer morning. It's Saturday morning. The flies are out on my early morning walk. Chris Exley, hello everyone from sunny Salem, Massachusetts, north of Boston. David James across the bridge. Yes, we lost a good friend of a lot of ours, Don Trask, earlier this week or over the weekend maybe, as Chris Fury checking in. Chris, going to feature Chris in the AAAA that Alistair sent, Chris in Melbourne, where he is, they've just celebrated their clubs, the Sandringham Yacht Club's, like 114th, something like that, opening day. So Bravo Zulu. And Chris's wife is the esteemed Vice Commodore. She'll be Commodore in a year or so of that club. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Thanks also to Mr. Dr. Andrew McIrvin, who was our guest on Tuesday's show. And that show's had well over 2,000 views, Julia.
That's great.
You know, I don't normally look at the show, at the numbers, but they were really up, and I know it's because everybody likes Andrew, and the topic was interesting. And I just want to say one more thing before we go too much farther here. We have a little, and some of you have asked, the super fosies, and those are people who are on here, been guests on here, maybe give us a few bucks, who contribute segments to the show. We call those super fosy, and it's Andrew and Andrew Pindar and John Emmett, Richard Gladwell and John Sangmeister, and on and on. But there's about 20, 25 people, Peter Stevenson, Chris Fury, there's a group. And we talked on the show this past Tuesday, with Andrew, about I asked him, why can't we merge IRC and ORC, the American system ORC, and the European, rest of the world uses IRC, the rating rules. And you said you'd go do something on AI. You'd do ChatGPT. Well, Peter Stevenson did.
Great.
On Tuesday night, our Tuesday night, his Wednesday, right after the show.
Oh, good for him.
He started merging the two, and others have been contributing to it. And now there's a big effort going on behind the scenes, thanks to the Sailing Illustrated and the FOSI, on trying to merge those two rules. So,
yes, it's a perfect vehicle to do that, I think.
I hope so. Bravo Zulu to Peter Stevenson and everybody else involved in that effort. And thanks again to Andrew McIrvin. We talked about offshore racing is booming, and you're going to hear from Dawn Riley. She sent us a segment today from the Annapolis Boat Show, the sailboat show, and she says that show is booming.
Oh, good.
So there's good news all around. Yep. And speaking of good news, one of the pieces of good news, Julia, is that Fleet Week is going on here. It's our Columbus Day weekend, or Indigenous Peoples Weekend, or day on Monday.
We're going to go back to Columbus Day.
I know we are. At least we are. We've never left it. But Fleet Week, you hear the jets flying around, but I say the good news is today through Sunday is this San Francisco Fleet Week air show, and a lot of people will be missing the Blue Angels because of our federal government shutdown. They are not performing. They're very popular, but they're also very loud, which is one of the reasons why I put a dynamic mic in front of Julia, and I'm back to my dynamic mic because it cuts down on the room tone and also the sound from outside here because those jets, I mean, that's really in front of St. Francis Yacht Club. Yeah. And it's very popular when the Blue Angels, our U.S. Navy acrobatic team, and they fly right down. There's an area in the middle of the bay that is the Coast Guard puts buoys, and it's a no-go zone between basically the bridge and Alcatraz Island. And at St. Francis Yacht Club, at Golden Gate Yacht Club, all around the bay, hundreds of thousands of people come watch this air show. Sadly, no Blue Angels, but the good news is there won't be any of that because they fly in off the water. They go right up, straight up over us practically. And we're just a couple blocks in from the waterfront where this kind of action takes place. But because of the federal government shutdown, still shut down after a couple of weeks, no Blue Angels. However, and what you will be hearing is that there's a group called the Patriots, great group. The jet team features former pilots from the U.S. Navy, Blue Angels, and the U.S. Air Force's, their Thunderbirds, which is their acrobatic team, aerobatic team. The team is the largest, that is the Patriots, civilian owned. They own the equipment, they raise money, they fly them themselves, and they're the largest such team in the Western Hemisphere. They are performing this weekend down, you can watch on the Marina Green, which is where you watch Sail GP and watch the America's Cup and so on. That's that big green area just along here on the northern city front, behind to the south of Golden Gate Yacht Club and St. Francis Yacht Club, Marina Green. So it's a very popular area. Also rejoining us, they've been here in the past, but the Snowbirds, the Canadian Snowbirds, are back. So we'll have some of their noise as well. They're very entertaining. And then Julia.
Yes.
Do you recognize that tall ship? She is back. That is, you recognize the country flag?
Argentine? What is it?
Close, but no cigar yet. That is the ARC Gloria.
Yes.
From COL, the Olympic code. You know how I have a fetish for using country codes from the Olympics. That's Colombia.
Oh, Colombia.
Their 250-foot training ship, ARC Gloria. And Julia, for extra credit, what does ARC mean?
I don't know.
ARC, I had to look it up too. ARC means the Armada de la República de Colombia. Apparently that's their Navy. Any ship that's in their Navy is an ARC. Colombia.
I always love seeing
the tall ships.
The tall ships.
And their crew.
And all the yardarms.
Good stuff. Well, they came in under the bridge the other day, all up on the yardarms, the usual thing. Good stuff. Okay, that's what's happening here or not happening here this weekend. You will hear some jet noise. We'll hear some noise next Tuesday as well because Luca Devoti will be with us live from, I guess, Valencia, Spain, where he lives. He's Italian, of course, but you never know if he's up at his boat shop in Poland. He is a man of international movement and mystery, like John Emmett.
And intrigue.
And intrigue.
Yes.
Luca will be our guest. He hasn't, like Richard Gladwell, he hasn't been on the show in a while. But we will have him on, that is Richard, in a moment. And we'll have Luca on next Tuesday talking Olympic classes. He has some very strongly held views. And I'm looking forward to having him back on the show to tell us what he thinks about Olympic classes.
Me too.
The check-in here before we get to the starting line. Peter Taylor is in the house, or at least online, figuratively speaking. Clayt Embley, working on a cabin Sole, S-O-L-E, and listening to SI. Welcome, Clayt. Normally in Kentucky. Fritz Mueller in Soggy, Miami. Steve Groover. Yeah, Don Trask was a legend, Steve, absolutely. Larry Kennedy is on Long Island. He's not in the financial district today. The markets were down after Trump said he was going to tariff the hell out of China. The markets did a 500-point swap. At least the Dow did, Julia. It was up 250, and now it's down 250.
It was supposed to.
Phil Yeomans, welcome to you. Claire Harrington, the esteemed Vice Commodore of New York Yacht Club from the sailing capital. Some of the Annapolitans would not agree with you, Claire, but Annapolis, Maryland is not where she is. She's in Newport, Rhode Island. Rick Bannerow, Heidi Ho, Gruber we've mentioned. Gordon Smith in Denmark, Ed Worley, Alan Long in Texas. Steve we've mentioned. John Emmett is on. I didn't know you were in Weymouth, he says. She's in Newport. For all its misuse, generative AI has really interesting capabilities. Pedrofoiling sailors' use of it is fascinating in what it has produced. That's Gordon Smith, who, by the way, also has chimed in. He's writing a report about the use of using AI for problem solving. And Mr. Doctor has weighed in too. So maybe we get Bruno Finzi, who's the Italian head of the other rating system, the ORC, and see if we can get him on the same page. What are those L-39s? I don't know what the jets are called, Alan. You'll have to scope that out. There's Commodore Robert McClellan. I saw Fleet Week during the 2013 America's Cup. Yes, indeed. Commodore McClellan not the Royal Freshwater. I accused him of being from the Royal Freshie.
No.
He's, of course, from the Royal
Prince Alfred.
your favorite club.
Yes.
Outside of, in Sydney. Is not a ship from Colombia a snowboat? You see that?
No.
Gordon, you know what snow is.
Yeah.
What is snow, Julia? You don't know what snow is. You're too polite.
A snowboat.
Snow is a term, is a word for snow.
Yeah.
Yale Corinthian Yacht Club has a regatta called Snow and Satisfaction. And it's not about snow that comes down out of the clouds, out of the sky. It's about cocaine.
Oh.
And that's why Gordon's making that comment.
Uh-huh.
A snowboat. Great
I didn't
stuff.
know that.
Jet, go ahead.
No, I'm too young.
Yeah, exactly. You wouldn't know anything about cocaine.
I don't.
Jet noise, the sound of freedom. Yes, indeed, Clay Embley. Greg Normand in the Great Lakes area. Hello to Richard, Tom, and Julia from the Midwest. Thanks, Greg, for your many contributions in the couple past weeks. When is our next para-guest? John Emmett is asking. You decide, John, when you want to put a panel together, because I've got a fair bit of para-news in today's show. Andrew Davola, hi from Artemida, Greece, where today the windsurfing world championships starts at, I believe. And we'll have a full report on that event on Tuesday, and hopefully something from Dolly. He maybe send us a video as well.
Oh, that'd be good.
Alex Hayward says the whole of the known universe in cows. The Isle of Wight. That is certainly another world headquarters of yacht racing. Emmett says it would be an interesting debate which is the top sailing country and therefore has the... Well, I think you could have a top sailing country like, say, France. Certainly a lot of people would say in the offshore world at least, if not beyond. But not necessarily that Lorient or one of those, or Marseille, is the top sailing city. Certainly in this country, Newport is. I know some of our friends in Annapolis. See, that Claire knew cocaine was snow.
Yes.
Okay,
She's better informed.
She's better informed. Have you ever done cocaine, Julia?
No.
Should I ask Richard if he's ever done? Look at he's shaking his head. No, I don't want to be asked that. He said. Peter Stevenson, a.k.a. Pedro, says, I don't believe AI will replace inventors, so keep dreaming, everyone. Give me some dates offline and I'll contact Jazz. Okay, John. We'll do that. We'll take that up on. There's Andrew Pindar, who says, but of course, all pale in comparison with his hometown up on the east coast of England, beautiful Scarborough. Okay, next Tuesday, Luca will be on. It's going to be an interesting show. We seem to run in streaks of guests, Julia. Sometimes we go for 4 or 5 shows without a guest, and now we're 3 or 4 in a row. We may have a guest next Friday as well.
Wow.
Happy Friday, everybody, and happy ultra-processed food day, Julia. We're going to have some fun with that one in a moment. Columbus Day, that's our Monday holiday. It's what it's been for years. Now, the previous administration or so wanted to call it Indigenous Peoples Day. Some states do, some states don't. Regardless, it is Fleet Week in San Francisco.
And it's Columbus Day as of today because the president signed a presidential order.
Well, but people can still opt in or opt out.
Yeah.
Right? Ted Ryman, I don't know what they call it in Cape Town. I like to celebrate, not Columbus per se, I like to celebrate Italians. We have a huge Italian throng, and this show, Julia,
oh, yes,
was a lot of Italian segments in this show and information as we get through it. Gladwell, as you know, Richard's on, standing patiently by, as I said a moment ago, in Auckland. We'll have him on in a moment as not only our guest, but also co-host. He's going to stay through a good bit of the show today, he thinks. What's up with the cup is our topic with Richard. We'll have a special This Day in History, Julia, 1 year ago today, the 10th of October. We'll see if you can come up with that. John Emmett's Coaching Corner, he's in Weymouth on our continuing push for parasailing inclusivity, a favorite topic of ours of late. And then speaking of which, the inclusive 2.4 meter world started today, day one at Lake Garda's FEM in Malchesney. 56 sailors from 17 nations. So that's some good news. Have a little brief segment on that. Then the 49er, FX, and NACRA 17 Worlds are going on in Sardinia. As you know, we talked about that on Tuesday. We'll have an update, at least from yesterday. I didn't get a video in yet from today. The last leg, speaking of Italy, the world's largest regatta, the 57th Barcolana, bigger than ever. There are now fully 600 events over the 12 days. It started on the 1st. It runs through Sunday. And on Sunday, of course, is that yacht race finale. It's 13 nautical miles. 1,700 yachts will start in that race on Sunday. It's a bit of a madness, but it's also a lot of fun. As we said, this day in history, Whiskey Tango Foxtrot, and of course, our fantastic Fozy. Julia, have a good quick swig of your coffee.
Mm-hmm.
What are we celebrating today?
Looks like a hamburger to me.
Well, it is not exactly a hamburger.
Okay.
We are celebrating World Plant-Based Burger Day.
Ah.
And I didn't know whether to do this as a correct or croutonic.
It could be either.
Well, now they're saying that these plant-based burgers are ultra-processed food and are not good for you.
Or the meat, the quote-unquote meat in them is. That's true.
Well, there's good ways and bad ways of doing that, or so I learned in preparing this segment. Mm-hmm. World Plant-Based Burger Day celebrates a tasty shift. I'm not so sure it's tasty either. We're going to ask the Fozy in the comments if they think this is correct or croutonic. A tasty shift in how we eat. Rick Banner is already in. Croutonic, yuck. Ryman, croutonic. Gordon Smith, cows eat grass, so they're vegetarian. This day shines a spotlight on burgers made entirely from plants. No meat, just wholesome ingredients. These burgers are crafted from foods like beans, grains, and vegetables, offering a delicious alternative to traditional meat patties. I don't know who Tracker is. Tell us your real name, please, Tracker. Plant Burger Croutonic. John Sangmeister, I just threw up a little bit. World Plant-Based Burger Day, and they're talking about making burgers out of these ultra-processed ingredients like Beyond Burger, and there's a dozen of these things, none of which is doing very well in the marketplace, or so I read. Mm-hmm. Ultra-processed food is what a lot of people are calling it, saying it's ultimately bad for you. McDonald's had a thing called McPlant Burger. McPlant Burger, but they dropped that a year or so ago in favor of the real thing. But there is a healthy alternative. If you want to have a salad, have a salad. I love salad. But I'm going to go back to that. Let me go back to that. The thing that is unhealthy about this is not, okay, forget about the ultra-processed meat. Have the sprouts, have the onions, have all the good veggies. But it's the bun. It's the carbs in the bun, and then they've got French fries over on the side with the World Plant-Based Burger Day. It's a bunch of virtual signaling, Julia.
It's important to some people.
And they shouldn't even call it a burger, Fritz Mueller says. They should call it a booger. Robert McClellan down in Australia and Sydney, disgusting. Is it really food?
No.
I knew this would trigger most of the Fozy, Julia.
Mm-hmm.
So McDonald's dropped it, but here is something that actually sounds and looks, at least to me, pretty good.
Okay, so every vegetarian needs a good black bean burger recipe they can turn to, so consider this my application for this to be your go-to black bean burger. And in case you don't know me yet, I am a nutritionist and sensory scientist who's been creating easy vegetarian recipes for over 10 years, and this recipe is really a staple for a lot of people, so I've been refining it for as long as I can remember, but I think it's finally reached its final form. The dough is easy to blend together, and it can be prepped in advance. I use panko breadcrumbs, which can be replaced with gluten-free breadcrumbs, and I use an egg, which can be replaced with flax egg. When it's burger time, pop that dough out of the fridge, shape it into patties, and then cook it either on the stove or on the grill. Such a classic vegetarian recipe. I can't wait for you to try it. Happy eating.
Oh, goodness, an egg. Is an egg vegan or vegetarian? I don't think so. It's animal-based.
Depends on who's talking.
It looks good to me, Julia. What do you think?
Yeah, it does look good.
Huh? Now that good. I would have, but but not with the bun. I always take my bun off the burger because I'm a carb avoider.
Yes.
You know that.
I know that.
And I don't eat French fries because French fries are carbs, number one, and they're fried food, number two.
But my mantra is that if your digestive system is working correctly, it doesn't matter what you eat.
We won't go into that now. World Mental Health Day would be a much better topic. Ed Worley, she can talk fast. Yeah, the lady does. That looks okay. I want to try that. Black beans?
Mm-hmm.
That looks okay, but forget about the
The bun.
The bun. Okay, correct or cretonic? I don't know. Since when are eggs and cheese vegetarian? Exactly, Fritz Mueller. He's saying it. It's the canola oil and the plant-based burgers that give them a good taste that make them sus. Exactly right, Baton Rouge. Gordon Smith says he tried a McDonald's veggie nugget. Is there such a thing? A couple of days ago. Disgusting. They are great veggie dishes. Exactly. Have a salad as alternatives without pretending. Chris actually had a Beyond Burger once, and it was great. He said, okay, but it's ultra-processed food. What other chemicals are in it? Just grab an eggplant parm. Exactly, Larry Kennedy. Life is short. Eat the bun, Jody says. Jody's up 7:20 in the morning in Sydney, or up in Wanji, north of Sydney. Hi, Jody. Black bean burgers are good. Alan Long's had one. I'm going to try one. And yes, the Navy's 250th anniversary. Our Navy is on the 13th in 3 days' time, so Bravo Zulu for them. Too much gas, Greg Normand says. Just eat real food in moderation, the tracker says. And Fritz Mueller said he had his first black bean burger 20 years ago. That's how long I have forgotten. Okay, Julia, let's get Richard in here for this day in history. Richard Gladwell, standing by in Auckland. Welcome to the show, Richard. Good to have you back.
Greetings. Is this Burger Illustrated, is it?
This is Vegetarian Illustrated, Vegan Illustrated today.
I'm starting to wonder.
Hey, Richard, what happened on this day in history, the 10th of October, 2024?
Opening of Barcelona, I think.
You are absolutely correct. And there it is. The opening ceremony was, I asked Claire Harrington if she had been there. She texted early this morning, said no, she wasn't there. But by all accounts, it was a pretty spectacular event, a little different than we might be used to because it was operatic, it was highbrow, it was, but it was a laser and a drone show par excellence, acrobats and a lot of cool stuff. And ending with the drones, and the drones made sailboat outlines. I mean, this drone stuff's gotten to be very, very complex and very cool. This was our MTM, our super Fozy, Magnus the Magnificent. Magnus Wheatley wrote a long article for the website, the AC37 website, headlined, Barcelona becomes the lighthouse to the world. Well, that was a bit of an overstatement, Magnus, but at the Louis Vuitton 37th America's Cup match opening ceremony, it was on Thursday the 10th of October, and Richard, racing started 2 days later on Saturday the 12th. You were in Auckland, right? You didn't go to Barcelona?
Yeah, no, things fell apart there. We were hoping to do Barcelona as well as the Olympics, but the whole price gouging thing and accommodation and everything else was just too hard. And then got a deal that was I could live with for about 3 weeks out, but by then we're totally committed to doing the coverage from here. So, and then the first day of racing, our readership went up to 1 million stories a month straight off it. So there was no justification for going there at all. And we could sit down and work out why that was happening. So we just kept on going. Well,
Claire is saying in the comments, Vice Commodore Harrington says it started too late for me. They're still going back and forth about vegan burger, vegetable burgers, or whatever. But William Haynes saying Team New Zealand announces a new giant foiling eggplant boat to be used in the next. Okay. Andrew Davola was there. Dolly was there. I was there for that ceremony, and it was a bit underwhelming, to be honest, over in an hour. Well, here's how the television reporters in Auckland covered it.
Tens of thousands flocked to the beach in Barcelona for a spectacular opening ceremony of the America's Cup this morning, our time. A drone show transformed the sky in a celebration of sport and culture designed to evoke memories of the opening of the 1992 Olympics. We'll cross live to Barcelona shortly, but first, this from our senior correspondent, Lisette Raymer.
You don't have to be a fan of sailing or the America's Cup or even sport to appreciate this. The opening ceremony bringing everyone to the beach for a night they won't be forgetting in a hurry.
Really emotional, actually. That was just, it was wonderful.
It took 1,000 drones to turn Barcelona into a lighthouse for the world, signalling the old mug is here and the boats are ready to fly.
So cool. Everything we've seen's been crazy.
As the first race draws closer, the Cup's biggest cheerleaders are turning out in their thousands. But Team New Zealand is turning inwards.
The pressure can be big, but we're quite insular in a lot of ways when the pressure goes on as a team, and we stay pretty tight, and we'll continue to do that.
After a decade of dominance, the Defenders' approach to race week is fine-tuned, more clinical than emotional.
And that's not planned, that's just the way that we are, and I think, you know, we're a team that's been around for a long time and we've been in these positions before, and I think that helps.
The goal this year is no different.
There's no, oh, we're hoping we're going to go in there and win. We expect to win.
But they are mentally preparing for a long series, knowing 7 wins won't come easily.
You know, just try to keep every day the same as what we've been doing for the last few years, and just try to keep it consistent, present the facts. We know what we've got to go out there and do, and just expect everyone to do their job.
The supporters are ready to do their job. But for the teams on the racecourse, it's all business.
The rest of this gets pretty fluffy, so I think we'll duck out. Let's hear. Yeah, there it is. You get the idea. Robert McClellan said, I agree with Dolly, it was boring. And others are saying it was a little underwhelming, as we saw up above. But I was at I was at the opening ceremony of the 92 Olympics in that stadium in Barcelona. I was a judge there on the jury at the Olympics 92 and also 96. And that was a spectacular opening ceremony. And all the judges from all the sports were seated together in the end of the stadium, right below where remember the archer shot the arrow? Lit the cauldron, lit the flame.
Right.
Now, I'm sure, he dipped his arrow in something and he shot it up there and it went over the cauldron and then somebody hit a switch and turned it on. But it was spectacular.
It was.
That was a great opening ceremony, and there was a lot of opera and a lot of good stuff. And that was way back in 1992. That's what it looked like there. And the final comment in his article by Magnus was the Louis Vuitton 37th America's Cup between ETNZ and Ineos Britannic, because they'd already won the Challenger Selection Series, the Brits had. Begins on Saturday, the 12th of October, when these two top flight teams will go head-to-head on the waters off Barcelona in the opening 2 races of the first to 7 points series. And those photos we just looked at by Ricardo Pinto, Ian Roman, and Ivo Rovia. Richard, it's been a year. What's going on? What are you hearing? You must be hearing all sorts of things down there close to the Defender Trustee Royal New Zealand Yacht Squadron.
We just hear crickets out of there. The only thing I can say is that I went down and had a look. I can just look from the other side of the harbour, and the crane was up, which is a very significant point for those of us that are going out and doing the spy work. When the crane's up, means there's boats going in the water and that sort of thing. If the crane's down, they've done nothing for the day. So all I could see there was the crane was up on the Team New Zealand base. There was a chase boat sitting in the water, and you couldn't see any cradles sitting outside. So I assume they hadn't gone sailing, but I don't think it's too far off.
Well, they can't sail in the big boats yet. Only the AC40s until what, January?
they can sail on the AC40s from the 1st of July, that's gone, until the 30th of June, that's coming. So we've got 35 days they can do in those, sailing in a paired configuration. So in other words, that's using them to test, and they can go sailing, single AC40 as much as they like. There's no reconnaissance on the AC40 sailing either. So it's all, Scouts honor stuff, and we'll tell you what we're doing afterwards and all that sort of thing. But that's sort of where it's at. So we know that Luna Rossa have already been out 2 boats sailing. How much they've actually done is a moot point, because the issue they're all up against is these time caps. So they've got 35 days, as I mentioned, for the AC40s covering the next 12 months. And they've got 45 days covering the AC75s, which starts on the 15th of January and runs for a year. So that runs through to 14th of January 2027. And then from mid-January 27 to the start of the Cup sailing, the first preliminary regatta, they've got another 45 days to burn up there. So the point with the whole thing is that they've got to count out their sailing days now. You can't just, drop your AC40 in or go for a yacht, because as soon as you cast that off the chase boat, it's counting as one of your sailing days. So you've got to spend those pretty wisely. And it was interesting when I checked back on what those limits were, that and what Team New Zealand had actually done in the last Cup, and also the other teams. The limits were actually what Team New Zealand did.
Oh, really? How much time they actually sailed?
Yeah.
So are they feathering their own nest? Is that what's going on here with those restrictions?
Well, they're using that as a base mark of what's possible. And when you looked at the other teams, they were way over it by 30%. Those times didn't include the last 2 months, because, as you remember, that reconnaissance periods stopped 2 months short of the start of the Cup.
Exactly. But it's going to go all the way through this time, I think.
Yes, the key point with it is that they're running on a very short time allowance to do their testing.
Well, it's got to be really hard on the other teams. I mean, the Defenders used to that schedule. They've won the thing. They've got the best boat, and all they're doing is restricting the time that the other teams can train, is what it sounds like, I'm sure, to some of us. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's back up for those that have not been paying a lot of attention and go look at what the venue, we had the venue announcement. We know we're going to get into the protocol in a minute, and what is agreed or what is not agreed in this whole ACP business, which was supposed to be signed off by the 9th of September, and as far as we know, has not been signed off. In fact, I had a source this morning before I went to air from the UK checking in saying, hey, Athena has not agreed to this. It's not done. Nobody knows when it's going to be done, and there's a lot of angst at the Royal Yacht Squadron and within Ben's team. But let's don't get into all that. Let's look at this video that ETNZ put out. I didn't air it. I haven't played it on the show yet. Some of you will have seen it, but it's the vision, it's the concept for AC38 in the Italian city of Naples. Have a look. Okay, Richard, how are they going to have that ready in time for the teams to train, let alone for an event in 2027?
Well, it's interesting. I put a photo. I found a photo in one of the Italian newspapers, Il Mattino, which is Naples based, and that was a trip they'd done there at the end of September, and basically the whole area there that's supposed to be reconstructed, nothing's happened.
Exactly.
So the whole area is still in weeds and all that sort of thing. Yeah, when they made that announcement, the day after you saw the stories, construction started, it's all underway, it's all going to be ready by April 2026. Who knows?
Yeah, meeting the target date, as Stingray is saying, Doug Zillamonster here, a.k.a., meeting the target date for the Bagnoli reclamation, where it's a nice video. I agree with some of the comments, Gordon Smith and otherwise, if that'll all happen. But it's going to be, it's a huge challenge. We know how difficult it is to build in any environment today, not just in a country like Italy or Spain where it took us forever to get bases built there. But Margarita Marshall, who is Italian, Margarita Bottini, married to John Marshall, is on. Nice to see you on, Margarita. She's saying maybe it'll be ready, maybe, for 2029. Richard, what do you think of that? Did we lose Richard? There's Richard. Can you hear us, Richard?
Yeah, I can hear you.
And we must have had a bit of a pause there. So is this going to be ready in time?
Well, I don't know. I mean, the thing with all these projects is if they can steamroller their way through a planning process, get a cast of thousands in there, get a really good project manager in that knows what he's doing, like the guy they had in Auckland, they can do it. But I mean, Auckland, came through. I mean, that was much the same state as Bagnoli. Had a really good project manager there, and he essentially got it in under time.
Log farm and sorted, and they're trying to do this in 2 years?
Yeah, no, but there's two Aucklands. I mean, the first one that happened in 95, I mean, yes, that took a while because the log farm, they had to do an incredible amount of dredging in the basin and everything else, and, do a lot of reclamation around it. But the second one, the facility was there pretty much already in terms of earthworks. What they had to do was get rid of all the leaking, used to be a fuel dump and a hazardous storage area. And what they'd done with it was they'd allowed, when they went and flushed those tanks, the local authorities had allowed them just to flush them into the ground. So they were leaching through the ground and out through the seawall and into the sea. So they had to basically rectify all that and then put a tarmac down. Once they got the tarmac down, then the bases go on it. But the guy, as a project manager, he did a really good job. And, as I said, he got it through on time and under time and under cost. The interesting thing with the way they structure those events is they do it as a partnership, so that the firm that's going in there and doing the work, if there's an underrun, they get half the difference between the underrun and the fixed price, and the council keeps the other half. So there's a really strong incentive on there to get the thing done.
Well, Ed Worley's saying he's having some audio problems too. Everything looks nominal at this end, and I'll keep watching. I apologize if it's causing a problem for anybody. But it's Margarita Marshall saying 26, 27, they'll be camping out. Jody Shields says you don't need team bases if there's only going to be a dog match, meaning 2 boats. And then there's a question here from Baton Rouge, Baton Kennon in Charleston, South Carolina. He's saying, is Richard making a statement by his headgear?
I'm just having it on.
You're just having a go.
Just having you guys on. Yeah.
Oh, having us on. Okay, well, let's get into talking more. We've talked a bit about the facility. I don't see how they're going to have that ready. I've been through that in San Diego running the event, and it's a good long, in the best of times. And as we said, it took 5 years down there after the Kiwis won in '95, Russell and co. brought it back, and wisely put it off for 5 years.
But it may not be necessary if there are only 2.
Well, they're not going to reclaim. I mean, there's a big reclamation project there. That's an old shipyard with all sorts of bad stuff that they've got to encase or get out of there. I don't know. We'll see.
Well, it was interesting, again, in this story that was on Il Mattino, when they first ran it, which was, what you had there with the video and everything else and showing how it's going to be. They sort of listed out some of the things that had to be done there in the first project, which they were putting 800,000 into, I think, was the getting rid of World War II munitions that had lain in there and was still unexploded before they could start dredging the harbour out for the boats to get in. So, but in the second story that came out, it was on the work list, there was no mention of that. So I don't really know what's going on. I mean, I know they've got a group there that's set up between the provinces and Team New Zealand, and there was a lot of arguing there as about how that would be comprised and who was going to be on it from the provinces. But you've still got to just get on with it, and that needs a really strong project manager.
Well, exactly, and that's a lot of work, and this event's in less than 2 years' time. It's coming up here on us. Let's move to the protocol, shall we, and what's going on with all of that, because you reported extensively when they had their meetings down there at the RNZ in August. You wrote a long article on the 12th. In fact, you interviewed Sir Ben and Mr. Dalton at the Yacht Squadron. Your article said America's Cup, the fish hooks, it was headlined, the fish hooks in the brave new protocol, and you updated the article. And you started by saying, as they say in Formula One, you always read a new set of rules twice, once to see what the rules do say, and the second and much longer read as to what they don't say. Here's your interview. And I think I'll play the whole thing because it really lays out the whole next cup. Your interview with Sir Ben Ainslie and Grant Dalton.
So in terms of the deed of gift, are you making changes to that to accommodate the commercial arrangements?
Yeah, so at the moment there's a structure which accommodates what we're doing and investigation of whether it is necessary to make changes to the deed as ongoing. Because you can build a structure which is complementary to the deed. Whether you've got to change the deed is another question.
But you've both tried this line of incorporating challenges that you would like into future cups, and they've both fallen over with using big commercial penalties.
Yeah,
are you going to continue down that line, or is it a change?
No, this is completely different. This is a structure built of a general partner or a limited partnership, which is perpetual, basically. But we certainly are looking at whether the deed should be changed.
I think, again, the New York Yacht Club have been involved with these discussions and are supportive of trying to develop the cup. So I think that's the original trustee of the event.
So they supporting this
really
move?
Yeah, they're in the press release. With the support,
which is great.
So, given what the cup used to cost, how much? I mean, you said it's coming down to €75 million. I mean, that's a huge drop.
Not for us, it's not. We don't have to spend that.
Yeah. So, how about for you, Ben? I mean, where do you see the cost savings coming in?
Yeah, it's a big job for some teams, more so for some than others. But we look about reusing hulls, other equipment. We talked about the crew makeup. So there's been quite a lot of thinking going into, well, how can we drive these costs down and increase participation, and that's going to be ongoing. And we've got to figure out, be really innovative about how the boats develop, the class of the boats develop, the nature of the racing, the competition, to really make it commercially viable.
I mean, we've seen these cost caps used in other sports. I mean, either, like in F1, they all seem to work out a way of getting around them, or you get a lot of niggling and infighting about and stupid fines going on and all that sort of thing.
I think F1 initially, in the first couple of seasons, it took a while to bed in, and notably the Red Bull, I think, had a bit of a challenge with it. But now, I mean, the last couple of seasons, I think we haven't heard much about it other than the fact that it's what's happened to Formula One. I mean, the event and the teams are just going from strength to strength in terms of the following and the commercial viability of both the event and the teams. So I think it's absolutely the right move.
Are you going to stick with the recon system that you ran last time?
Yes, right through to the end.
To the end?
Yeah.
Right, yeah. Ben, I mean, there's always been this issue, you know, with you and Sir Jim Ratcliffe. What's the legal situation between you now?
Well, look, I mean, it's very, very simple. We've had different backers over, you know, this is going to be now our fourth campaign. We've had different backers, sponsors over that period of time. Fundamentally, we've developed the team and the assets over that period. So it's very clear to me, to the team at least, where those assets sit. And, you know, for whatever reason, we couldn't agree how to move forwards. But the team, most important is the team's moving forwards and learning every time and getting more competitive every time. And we'll keep going.
So what assets does Athena Racing currently own? Have you got an AC75?
Yeah, we own all of the assets that we've developed over the last 10 years or whatever it is. So yeah, that's always been very clear. I mean, there's been a lot of chat I've noted over the last year or so, a lot of opinions, but you know, we've always been very clear on that.
So again, going back to Sir Jim's day, I mean, there was a big statement there about how he had, you know, 100 designers working on the boat design. What have you had going as Athena Racing?
Yeah, we kept a core design team going. Obviously, we're not doing it in Formula One mode, if you like, which is a very different level of resource. We learned a lot from our period working with Mercedes, and you know, I think it was a really strong collaboration. But you know, now again with this cost gap, we're going to be a much tighter, more focused unit.
Okay, I've looked at that one other time. Plus, we aired it on the show, and you know, Grant's got his legs crossed and he's kind of distracted, looking around. Ben talks about owning an AC75, and is not at all convincing that he thinks even that he's got access to that. But what was going on, Richard, in that room? You were doing the interview. What impression did you come away with?
Well, the background of the whole thing is that they gave us probably 30 minutes. I think they gave us an hour, but I only saw it 30 minutes before the start of the media conference. So we all raced down to the yacht squadron. We hadn't seen a copy of the protocol. I think the mainstream media that were there had. And so we went into one of several sessions. So the first one was just mainstream media only, and they were asking all the usual, you know, questions beginning with how, which doesn't really get much of an answer. And then that group broke up, and there was a second media conference there with starting the rest of the media plus the Commodores, or you had the choice of going in and going into this one, which was with some more mainstream media, plus sitting with Daltz and Ainsley. So I elected to go with this one. I understand the one with the Commodores was equally interesting for its body language. But when I've seen what Ivor Wilkins wrote in Seahorse, and he was there, it sort of looks like they got a little bit more out of them and different. But the other thing with that protocol was that they claimed it was only signed an hour before we had that media conference. And the other thing was that Ainsley was heading for the airport straight afterwards, apparently. So because when we did a third media conference, which was at about 7:30 at night with the international media on a Zoom call, Ben was still on the ground in Auckland, and to me it looked like he was still at the airport. So they were under a bit of time pressure, and right on the end of that, Ben Ainsley got yanked by the PR people and sort of said, look, we've got to get going. So, you know, that was maybe why they were looking a bit shifty, but there's certainly some very interesting body language in there if you know, go and look it up and Google what's going on with it.
Okay, so let's figure out what is going on, because You wrote in that article in August, and basically, as far as we can tell, nothing's happened since. I'm hearing from various sources that there's a lot of angst, that they were, first of all, crossing T's and dotting I's, and then they couldn't reach agreement on the so-called America's Cup Partnership, ACP, which was supposed to be signed by the 9th of September, and now here it is a month later, the 10th of October, and apparently is still not signed. At the time, Richard, you wrote this nice photo from Southern Wooden Boat Sailing of Intrepid back in, I guess, 67 or 70, I'm not sure which, but you wrote, in the past 170 years, the New York Supreme Court has only made 3 amendments to the deed of gift. The first 2 were in 56. Before this, remember the Cup had gone on a hiatus after the 37 Cup during World War II. New York then, as things Europe got rebuilt and the U.S. economy was booming, New York was trying to find a challenger to reinvigorate the Cup, which they finally did in 1958. But part of the deal was that the Cup had to be sailed in smaller, less expensive boats than J boats, as you've reported here, Richard, such as the 12-meter class, by reducing the LWL, the waterline, from 65 to 4, minimum waterline from 65 to 44. There was also a removal of the requirement of the challenger to sail to the match on their own bottom, the so-called 1956 amendments, which we've talked about at some length. And there was a third amendment, as we all know, that was to permit the conduct of the event in the Southern Hemisphere in what had been prohibited months of November to April, I believe it was. The Third Amendment was made in 1985 to allow the event to be sailed in the Southern Hemisphere summer to accommodate the conduct of the 87 Cup in Frio. So as several people have said in here, and this is the key question, and Margarita Marshall has said this, you can't compare the Cup to F1. The F1 does not have a deed. Dogzilla Monster, a.k.a. Stingray, says no judge will change the deed since it has worked fine forever.
Yep.
And that's, as Hamish Ross and others will tell us, that is the case. Margarita is also saying the big problem will be how, is she right up the top of the comments there? The big problem will be how to convince the judge the Cup the deed needs to be amended, and Ed Worley down at the bottom is saying the big question is how will Ben and the Royal Yacht Squadron build a new boat if they don't have access to their old boat, the cost and design info they do not own? So that's a question as well. Richard, you said the same thing in that article. You went on to say, without the changes in 56 and 85, the intention of the donors, as the owners of the Yacht America, which won the first race in the 100-pound Cup, now known as the America's Cup, and which then deeded the Cup to the New York Yacht Club for a friendly competition between foreign countries. But without the changes, the Cup would have been frustrated. Yes, it would have been really impossible, and New York wouldn't have been able to find a challenge for the 58 match, the Brits. That is not the case with the AC partnership, which is just an alternative. These are your words. Just an alternative way of running the event. Opponents of the proposed changes would argue before the court that the Cup was not in dire straits and that the deed of gift did not require an amendment, a change. The opponents would also argue that the America's Cup has survived since 1871, the first 2 matches, aside from those 3 amendments above, and that its strength lies in the deed's concise wording, flexibility, and foresight, which should not be altered. Your words, Richard.
Yep. Well, I mean, that is the case. I mean, you've got to look back at the history of, what went on, those changes that were made in 56. And I mean, that stage, the Cup, hadn't been sailed right through the duration of the Second World War. That had finished. Business was getting back to normal. There was no prospect of the Cup being sailed in J-boats again. So, and the boats, the waterline length there was too long. So they came up with a plan. And what they're, as there's 2 tests for the deed of gift. One is whether it's within the 4 corners of the deed. And then you can't work it out from there. then you go into the intent of the donor. Well,
Exactly.
Cup's just tracking along fine. I mean, maybe it doesn't have the number of entries that they want, but that's sort of really over to the teams to structure it so they can do that. Get if cost is an issue or whatever, help get more teams into it.
Well, therein lies that's what's really going on behind the scenes, is they're having this big debate about amending the deed, and some lawyers are saying, "Oh yes, we'll do that. We'll go to the court and get that done," and others are saying, "Whoa, it's not going to happen." And that's why and then all the other issues we've all been talking about with the ACP since the get-go about how expensive it is to try to do this, how difficult it is to word a document that everybody will be happy with. And how, just the tax implications in all the various jurisdictions is a big issue. But I don't see how that ACP thing's ever going to really happen, Richard. What last word to you?
There's two separate issues there. There's the ACP thing, and then there's this amending the deed of gift. Well, to my way of thinking, they can do the whole ACP thing.
Correct.
But they don't need to amend the deed of gift, because they can set up, what is effectively a class association or an F1 association, go around, that can sort out all the basic issues that aren't covered in the Cup, deed of gift. They can do what they like with a selection series. That's not in the deed of gift.
Correct.
They can do what they like with AC40s. That's not in the deed of gift. So, to my way of thinking, they've got all the tools in their own toolkit now to be able to do it. The only thing they can't do is sit in there and change some of the basic things that are in the deed of gift, like, where the Cup should be sailed and who should, the defenders' rights.
And who makes the decision of where it's sailed?
Yeah.
Because that's the other thing. They're trying to say that ACP, big picture, long term, would make that decision, and that isn't going to happen. The deed of gift is quite clear who makes the venue decision. And let's just clarify the waterline length, too, because Chris actually is saying, what is the waterline length of a foiling AC38? It sure ain't 44 feet. Chris, maybe we didn't make it clear. The deed of gift used to say the boats had to have a waterline between 60 and 90 feet, unless it was two-masted, in which case the waterline length could be up to 115 feet. That's what the deed used to say. It was amended for the 58 Cup in 1956 so that they could go from J boats down to a smaller boat, and the minimum waterline length was amended from 60 down to 44, which would accommodate 12 meters. In fact, there were some 12 meters that were built right to that 44, nearly so to that 44 minimum waterline length. So now the deed is effectively from 44 to 90 if of one mast. If two masts, you can build a boat, if it's a deed of gift match, if you haven't agreed otherwise by mutual consent. If it's a two-masted boat, you could build up to 115 feet.
But the point is that it's a load waterline length, so it's a length when the boat's actually in and floating, not when it's foiling.
Correct. Mm-hmm. That's another issue. But let's don't get into that. Steve Groover says the AC is so full of BS right now, and the barristers are inking their quills. It doesn't get any better. Clark Chapin offers a quote. Harry Truman, one of our former presidents right after the war, quote about economics. Economists might well apply to attorneys as well. Quote, give me a one-handed economist. All my economists say on the one hand, this, and on the other hand, that. Yeah.
And the point with that, too, is that they can go and get a legal opinion, and the guys will say, yeah, we can get this through and argue it for you and everything else. And by the way, here's our advance fee of $1 million.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The only guys that are making money out of that are lawyers. They've got no more idea really than anyone else as to which way the court's going to go. So, and, as you've seen in the cases and everyone else has seen in the cases, till the court actually sits and hears the evidence and then starts falling the way they think it should go, nothing happens. The whole point with it is they've got to look at what, if the Skylar's intent and what's in the four corners of the deed. And if they can answer it within the four corners of the deed, they would just say, no, we don't need to change that.
Exactly.
The view that we were being given at this media conference is that New York Yacht Club had made some supporting comments about the change, but even they would certainly need that to go in there. But the point is with the Cup deed, I mean, who's the beneficiary? and you've got to look at it from that point of view. And the beneficiary is basically every yacht club in the world that's eligible to sail for the Cup.
Exactly.
So
yeah, I agree with you. I don't think that the deed's going to get amended anytime soon. Again, just to put a fine point on it, unless there's something that makes the whole continuation of the Cup impracticable. If there's something in the deed that it stops it from happening, like that minimum waterline length of 60, then the court will entertain it, provided there's nobody else saying, whoa, we can do that. That's no problem. Provided I'm sure the New York Yacht Club's got to go along with it. I can't believe the New York trial court at 60 Center Street would agree to an amendment to the deed of gift if New York Yacht Club wasn't in there supporting it. And because the Commodore, who will no longer be Commodore on the 11th of December, offered a quote saying, well, yeah, we're supportive of modernizing the Cup, basically what he said. And it wasn't the club, it was the Commodore. And as Bill Koch and others have said, Julia,
It's cheap.
is cheap. He told me that the first time I tried to recruit him into the 92 Cup. Well, Tom, you're going to say it's going to be fair, but talk is cheap. Where are the rules? So I went back and wrote rules. And he said, oh, okay. And Ed Worley saying, I don't think New York Yacht Club ever agreed to amending the deed. Margarita Marshall echoing that as well. Let's talk about another topic, Richard, and that is you've written about Luna Rossa welcoming Peter Burling, the multi-time Kiwi champion, joined the Italian team. And you said the Burling rule, which you and I talked about, and I think I even named it that, maybe you did, contained a previous draft protocol released by the Defender that prohibited sailing crew from competing for a team other than the team they sailed for in the 2024 Cup, last year's Cup. That has that's gone in this latest draft, the latest version of the protocol. Well, it is a draft because they haven't agreed to the ACP. So effectively, that rule no longer exists. Your thoughts?
Well, the early point on that is, I mean, they can still run this Cup and cut the whole ACP thing out of it. It's not fundamental conduct of this Cup. So, that's one point. The other thing with the protocols is they've always been a living document, so they can chop and change them pretty well as much as they like, and it's just the defender and challenger they have to sign off. With the Italians, they've now got a conundrum. I mean, they were building up these two, top helmsmen, Brigero Teta and Max Gradioni, and they were going to be the next best thing. And if you remember, when Luna Rossa got eliminated from the Louis Vuitton Cup, they were out there sailing with these two new helmsmen and saying these are the future of the Cup and so on and so forth. Now Luna Rossa have gone and hired two Kiwis. It's arguable whether they were better than those two that they sailed in the AC38 in Barcelona. They've obviously lost Jimmy Spittle and the other co-helmsman, Francesco Bruni. So,
well, they've aged out.
Well, they haven't aged out, but I mean they're no longer really with the team. So, what are they going to do? Are they going to run with an Italian helmsman and in a Cup sail in Italy, which they've got a very good chance of winning, or are they going to use two Kiwis on the boat and have three Italians plus an observer?
Mm.
That's I don't think either's a great choice for them.
Mm. Well, the bottom line, Richard, is that as Margarita Marshall's saying there in the comments about in the middle of that page, she's saying, remember, the protocol is not yet valid because they said it wouldn't be valid unless they got an ACP agreed. But as you said, Richard, they can keep amending the protocol. They can amend the date, the deadline dates, which no doubt they have done. Anders Helgeson. Hello, Anders. Nice to see you in the chat. Why not just change type of boat and make it a cheaper class? That would probably attract new teams. More teams equals more interest from a broader audience, a la Sail, he didn't say this, but a la Sail GP. And Jody is saying, I think we are all being led down a path to find a unicorn. Meanwhile, Team New Zealand and their new partner, meaning the Brits, are marching up another lane full steam ahead. Well, I'm not so sure if they're marching up another path, Jody, but it's certainly a different path. Ed Worley's asking some questions. But bottom line, Richard, why are they trying to make the America's Cup into Sail GP? Forget about it. SailGP can have 12 events a year. They're done 11 now. They're going to have a 12th one next month. They can have a dozen or more teams, and it's, the boats are identical. It's not a design competition so far as, except as in Russell's head, where he's doing the design work, he and his people, and changing the boats as he deems fit. Why try to make the America's Cup into something that it is not? Have it an every 3 or 4 year event. Have it honor the deed of gift, and if by mutual consent you agree to the J boats or the 12 meters or a TP52 or a tell me what, or these AC75s, okay, why not run it in Auckland the way the deed and everybody believes the Cup is contemplated to be held? Why try to make it into SailGP?
Well, the point is that the America's Cup's got to go onto a basis that's similar to SailGP. In other words, that they've got teams that are running there that are sustainable commercially year on, year out.
Why? Why do teams have to be sustainable year in and year out? That's not in the deed of gift. That is a wet dream of Grant Dalton's and Ben Ainsley's. That's not a part of the America's Cup. It never has been.
Well, it's like Dennis Conner said, way back, the billionaires will kill the Cup, and they have.
The Cup has been run by billionaires, funded by billionaires, or the then equivalent of billionaires. We even have trillionaires in the world these days, since forever. And the Cup has thrived since 1851. Everybody's so proud of saying it's the oldest trophy in international sports.
Well, it hasn't thrived since 2007, and that's, getting to be almost 20 years ago.
I would agree it has not thrived, but I would argue it's because of the choice of yacht.
Yeah, I don't. I think you've still got a situation where you've got 60 to 65% of your cost is in the staff and running the team.
Which has been the case since I've been involved, since I got involved in 1980. There were $4 million campaigns in 80, 83, less than that in 80. And 60% or more was the cost of the people, even then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you could sell it in Optimist, and these guys will still find a way of spending $100 million.
That's right. And every time we've tried to do cost cutting, as you know, Richard, you and I have talked about this many, many times over the years, and we've been great friends forever. And you are one of the most knowledgeable and experienced people covering the Cup. And, you're also a sailor and a judge. People don't realize what a good sailor you are and what a good judge you have been. And every time we've tried to cut costs in the Cup, like when we went after the 92 Cup, we said, okay, we're going to cut everybody from unlimited number of boats because Koch built 4 and Gardini built 5, or was it the other way around? I can't remember. And we're going to cut everybody, limit everybody to 2 new boats in the 95, and the budget still went up because now people are using tanks and computational fluid dynamics instead of full-scale testing. It turned out the big boats, building a boat to test it, was not any more expensive, or maybe arguably less expensive, than spending hours and hours and hours in the computer in the tank and having design teams that went from 3 or 4 or 5 people to 30 or 40 people.
Yeah.
The new computational abilities of our software may change that.
Well, exactly. The software is definitely getting better. Okay, Richard, final thought on all of this protocol and deed of gift madness.
I think what they need to do is, there's 2 things they've really got to do. Firstly, they've just got to step back and look at themselves in the mirror and just say, look, we've been arguing about this for a year. We've had no announcements, no teams publicly announced or anything like that. What's going on? I mean, how does this make the event look? It doesn't make it look very good at all. And they're slowly killing the event by doing this. They may think they've got the sponsor attraction, and I'm sure when they give it a go, they'll get some back in. But just from the fans' point of view, I mean, the Cup is dying. Mm. We're seeing that in our ratings in Sail World. I mean, the story ratings that I know is a story that I would have written before. I got a pretty good idea what it should rate. Now it's probably rating about a third of that.
Yeah.
So, that's a barometer on the interest. I'm not really seeing anything else that's going on, to counter that. The other thing I think they've got to fix up is and the same with Sale GP, they've got to fix this TV product. It's absolutely dreadful. And the problem with it is in the commentary. I mean, I don't normally comment on commentators, but it was an interesting piece that appeared in the Herald yesterday with a rugby rival to Live starting up, and there's a comment in there which I'll just read. It says, while there has been a preference in some countries for excitable commentators licensed to use catchphrases and hyperbole, Johnson's measured approach, attention to detail, and a natural flair for contextualising games has made him a timeless operator whose style aligns with the expectations and preference of Sky's mostly mature rugby audience. I mean, you look at what's going on.
Bravo, Zulu. Bravo, Zulu. And bottom line, you could boil that down into one sentence. Where are Peter Montgomery and Gary Jobson when you need them?
Yeah.
Well, the amazing thing last time was that, Peter Lester was good enough to commentate at the Olympics, but he wasn't good enough to be the lead commentator at the America's Cup.
Well, you know why that was. That's political. That's because Peter and Mr. Dalton didn't get along. Mr. Dalton makes those calls.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what was behind it, but the point is that it's not who you get along with, it's how the job you do.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Totally correct.
What was required, and that's what is required. And it's the same with Sale GP.
Yeah,
I watched it in Australia, I put myself through 8 races because they didn't have it on YouTube, and finally got to see it on Monday. And this level of noise and that, I fell asleep halfway through it. not through the action, but it was just this constant repetition of noise in my ears, and it was absolutely numbing.
Jody Shields says he has more interest in the home cooking network than he does in the America's Cup, and that is sad. Okay, well, not everybody's going to have a different outlook on that, but let's talk briefly about this situation we covered on Tuesday. I won't read all this, but the stuff, your stuff whatever it is .co.nz, which is that the Richard? Is that the Herald's? Is that the Herald's online portal? What is stuff?
It's basically a network of Wellington papers that were Australian owned, and what happened was they were running at such a loss, their Australian owner turned around and sold it to the current editor for $1.
Oh, really?
And, she picked that up and ran with it. It's doing relatively okay. They're expanding out and they've got the thing back and being profitable.
So it's an independent news outlet.
Yeah, well,
in New Zealand.
It's a very Wellington-centric news outlet.
Well, in any event, sorry, go ahead, Julia.
Margarita Marshall says millionaires are still there and they're still building big maxis.
Yeah, good point. There's lots of money. There's plenty of money. Murray Lamont says at the moment Ben Ainsley's team has no hull unless Jim gives in. Otherwise, he's got to build one to the design plans of a 2021 Cup or a 2024 Cup boat. And where's he going to get the design plans to do that? He doesn't own the design plans either. Mm-hmm. Team New Zealand skipper Nathan Otteridge joins the new Sail GP team in a move that shouldn't clash with the America's Cup. This was your stuff portal, news portal down there, website, reporting here in the last couple days. And I won't read all this, but he's gone to work for Artemis, as you know, who's going into Sail GP next year in season 6, 2026. And there's a lot of comment down there, Richard, about, well, Burling had to leave because he couldn't get an agreement from Dalton to let him sail in Sail GP and the Cup. But yet the Team New Zealand skipper, who is an Aussie, he can go off and sail for Artemis. What's that all about, Richard?
Well, I think the interesting thing in the story is that there's no quotation from, Outridge saying that that's what he's going to do, and certainly nothing there from Dalton saying that, it's fine with him. In fact, quite to the contrary, when Burling left, Dalton made that comment that he thought the America's Cup should be everyone's number one priority and couldn't see how guys could do both. So, there's something's obviously changed in there. The point made in that story was that Burling couldn't do it because he was co-chief executive of the Blackfoils with Tuke. But I mean, they've already got an chief executive in there on the Blackfoils, who's David Robertson, who's Bill Robertson's brother. So quite why they come out with that sort of thing. It's hard to see. They've already got a CEO. What do they need to?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, let's go ahead, Julia.
The other thing,
I'm going to use the cleavage cam since you're going to say something erudite. Now, look, we have a new camera angle on Julia, the cleavage cam. That does deserve a finger wag. I like the angle, though, Julia.
Oh, yeah, all right. We'll see what we can do about not cooperating. I think the nationality drive has been lost from America's Cup too, and I think the nationality thing is really important.
Richard?
Yeah, I agree. I think that's what really the Cup was all about initially. I mean, obviously it's got watered down a lot.
Yep.
But I mean, you've got the exact example, mirrored there in Sail GP, where you now see these boats racing around. They've got different countries' helmsmen on them. There's different countries' sailors.
Yep.
And, the only thing is that that's where the team's hosted in a particular country. There's no yacht clubs involved. It's just, it's professional teams. And the America's Cup wasn't supposed to be that. It was supposed to be, country against country. And that's why they had the constructed and country rule there to make that, thinking explicit. And, sure, that particular rules had to be watered down with the, advent of multinational manufacturing, and you can't tell who's done what to which bit. But it's still the basics of it are still there. And, for all what's gone on, it's still a contest between clubs. And the interesting thing that came out of that media conference was that all four that were there, so in other words, the two Commodores and the two team heads, said that really that negotiation didn't start coming unstuck, didn't start, getting glued together until the Commodores got involved. Started banging a few heads. I mean, for the RYS, it was just completely unacceptable position for them to, concede and go into a deed of gift match or withdraw or whatever. I mean, it's just, you just don't do it. And, for RNZYS, I mean, they were on the pound seat. They were going to be in there anyway, but.
Well, as Steve Groover and others are pointing out, the deed says nothing about nationality, and indeed we know there was a British navigator when America went around the Isle of Wight in 1851. We know that there were, before he was naturalized American, there was a Scottish helmsman in the late 1800s, of course, who won the Cup 3 times, and for the States, and on and on and on. But what people remember, of course, are the glory days of the 12-meter era when the teams were naturally, because, you weren't flying all over the world. Even data wasn't flying around the world quite the way it is now. But the Aussies showed up with an all-Aussie team when they got to Newport. The Dennis and co were all American guys and gals, for the most part, sailing on American teams, almost exclusively. When the Kiwis showed up in San Diego in '95, it was an all-Kiwi team. So I think that natural, and we've had by mutual consent nationality rules in the meantime. The Swiss didn't want it. When we were Challenger of Record and the Swiss were the defender, they wanted to get rid of that. And Hamish Ross, who was representing the Swiss, talked me, representing the Challenger of Record Golden Gate Yacht Club, into, okay, let's just open that up because it's being not enforced properly anyway. Let's go to another topic though, and then let you go or get on to other things here, because we're an hour and 20 minutes into this show. Our show number 873 on Friday, the 10th of October. We do this every Tuesday and Friday, not often or not always with esteemed guests like Richard Gladwell, whom we're delighted to have, who's checking in via Zoom from Auckland. I'm delighted to have Richard. It's been a year almost since he's on here. He's the editor, the New Zealand editor of sail-world.com, which is a terrific global sailing website. They've got editors here in the States and in Spain and in Australia, and Richard in New Zealand, and they cover the sport beautifully. So bravo, Zulu, Richard. But let's talk about the classes. You've also written about that a week ago or so. You said in a headline, some action at last, classes meaning the teams, I should say. Some action at last, Luna Rossa have sailed 2 AC40s. What do you know about that?
Well, that was basically happened on the 26th of September from memory, and that it turned out that it was essentially Luna Rossa celebrating their wins and the youth and women's. But the point with that is that, I mean, by doing that 2-boat sailing, they've spent one of their days that they could have spent doing proper 2-boat testing, and we don't know how much, more time they've spent on that. So it's not a sort of thing that you can now do as a team, just jump in a boat and go for a yacht for publicity purposes. It's
because you're spending time. You're spending valuable days. Maybe the Italians know something we don't know. Maybe they know all this is going to go by the wayside and this whole thing is going to get pushed off till 2029, which is what I'm starting to hear, by the way.
It's not going to survive if they do that. I mean, everyone's going to forget about it.
It'll always survive.
The point with the Cup is that its actual strongest point is in the AC40, because they can put up a really good event there with that AC40 circuit going around the world, just the same as they do with SailGP. They can, but the big thing where they've got over SailGP is that they can take the America's Cup in there, and of course that's just a huge prestige. You can see what's happened with Naples when it's gone on there. I mean, they've just absolutely fallen over themselves over it, and it's just the prestige and manner of the trophy is huge.
Were you in Naples in 2012 for that that was I was I was the MC on the stage, and for those the morning shows every day, and the crowds in English and Italian. I had an Italian co-host, co-presenter, Niccolo Porzio, and Natasha Santi, Julia, whom you know. I mean, it was fabulous. Naples will be an enthusiastic host, no doubt, but it's not the way the Cup should be run. It should be in Auckland. If this thing were in Auckland, this thing would have been way ahead of where we are now. Richard, let's talk about another team, shall we? Because we talked about Luna Rossa, and now I have a video of the French. I'm going to turn because I'm going to get a copyright strike. They used copyrighted music. That is their AC40. I don't know where in France they were sailing to touch French waters, and they sailed very briefly, apparently. And notice that on their sail, it says and you don't see L'Oreal, you don't see any of their branding. From the last Cup, they've changed the name of the syndicate to K Challenge because apparently their sponsors, whom they said were coming back, have not come back, at least not so far. What saith you?
Well, given what's going on in France politically, I mean, maybe they just regard it as a bit too unstable. But I mean, that whole deal started as K Challenge anyway.
Yes.
And then they started bringing on various sponsors, and then one of the better ones became the naming rights sponsor, and so on and so forth. So I don't really see there's anything too different from that.
Well, except what is different, they don't have a sponsor. I mean, if they had a sponsor, it'd be the branding. And they said they had a sponsor. Sponsors were keen to go forward. I agree with you. They've had 9 governments in the last, I don't know how many months, 9 prime ministers, something like that. And that whole
2 years.
Yeah, and that whole government's about to collapse again, apparently. And
the thing with the French is that don't forget they're running 2 programs. So they're running the SailGP program.
Right.
That's got sponsors all over it.
Right.
And then last time they just rolled those sponsors off onto the boat. So, because they're just sailing a black sail boat now.
So you think they're back? They're going to be okay, you think?
Yeah. Well,
okay.
I mean, they can, obviously get the finance together.
Well, obviously, but you think they're going to get it together and be back?
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
That's. How about Alinghi?
No.
They're done.
I just the trouble for them with this rule requiring them to use 2024 boats. I mean, that boat got really badly damaged on the last day they went sailing it. But it's got 2 broken racing masts, and you've got to still go back and use gear that was declared for the last cup. So they've got to repair those. We've never been told why those masts broke, whether they were operator error or a design error. But I mean, they've still got to get, that issue sorted. They sailed in the cup, the Louis Vuitton Cup with a legacy mast. And, there's sort of questions really as to whether that boat design's really all that quick. If they could get in there and lock in that, get going with a new design and get new masts and start off the same start line as everyone else, that would probably be a lot more encouraging for them. But
how about the Americans? What about American Magic? Is New York Yacht Club back or not?
Well, it's interesting looking at that. I mean, you hear a lot of talk about whether Dick DeVos is coming back and that sort of thing. But they've certainly got a good facility going at Pensacola. It's getting a lot of local publicity. It's more than just an America's Cup facility. They're wanting to do a lot of other projects out of there, and that gives that area a lot of mana and prestige, and starts them going into other projects. Like, I mean, a lot of the companies here are in the same boat, but I mean they started off with the America's Cup, but then suddenly they extend that expertise they have in the Cup into composite engineering.
So, Richard, are they back or not?
Well, who knows?
Okay, I mean, that's fair. I mean, that's a fair answer, but I wanted to get you to go on the record.
You got to look at the background, not just sort of it's black and white they're in.
Do you want to guess from me what's going to happen with New York?
Sure.
And this is definitely not from Claire. Claire is so closed-mouthed about the America's Cup, and I don't even try anymore to try anything out of her because she is so tight-lipped, which she should be. I mean, she's vice commodore, about to be commodore. But I have lots of, I was a member of that club for 40 years. So I've had lots of friends and lots of contacts and lots of people on the team on American Magic and people who are being recruited if they can ever get back in the Cup. So yada, yada. And Chris Fury's pointing out that DeVos has shut down their TP52 program. Is that a good sign or a bad sign? What's next? I think what's going to happen with New York, with American Magic, forget about American Magic per se for the moment. I suggest, Commodores, ladies and gentlemen,
yes,
that New York is going to come up with a proposal to the Cup world about how to go forward. They're going to say, hey, we've been sitting back. We've been copying the mail.
Good idea.
We've been involved in all this. We've been involved since 1851. We know the deed of gift. We know the problems in the courts. We know what's going on. We've tried to negotiate with Mr. Dalton, with the Royal Yacht Squadron. We've tried to negotiate and keep ourselves in this because I think New York really does want to be in the Cup. And I think the leadership of the club and the members, I think, there's, no club is what's the word I want, is
singular in opinion.
Yeah, but there's a better word. That's what I'm trying to say. No word is monolithic. No club is monolithic.
Yeah.
A third of the club will be against the Cup. A third of the club will be totally in favor of it. And the middle group don't really care, don't really know what's going on. I think New York will come back and say, here's a proposal on how to do the Cup and how to go forward because we're at an impasse now. We're in a morass. We want to help.
Makes us all look bad. Let's fix it.
Yes, exactly, Julie. Here's a way out of the woods, and this is what we suggest. I believe, and I've not heard that from any of the leadership, including and especially Claire. I'm just thinking and hearing from others who say, well, what if we did this? Or what if the club did that? And so I wouldn't be, it is the spiritual home, as Ed Worley says, of the Cup. And I think New York might do just that. Richard, final thought.
Well, the thing is that if that idea was there and they could have done that, it should have been put on the table a long time ago.
What if it just got put on the table in the last week or two?
Well, do you really think that, after going for a year, they're only just having a,
No, but people, they've been thinking about it all along. But remember, they're about to have a change of leadership. The current Commodore is done after his 2-year term on December 11th, and there's a new Commodore and a new Vice Commodore. The rear Commodore, Peter Comiskey, moves up from rear to Vice. So you have a new group. I think they'll put something forward. Whether it'll be accepted, Alex Hayworth says, "Oh, it's meaningless." Well, maybe not. We'll see. And Alan Long is saying, let me just go a couple other comments. Alan Long is saying he thinks he's under the understanding that both Rich DeVos, that was his dad for whom I worked, Doug DeVos, and Terry Hutchinson are retired. I don't think that's true. I think Terry will still be involved in one capacity or another. But let's see what happens with that. May I ask you one final question, Richard?
Sure.
And then give you a bottom line, the last comment. But I've got a question for you. Forget about American Magic. Let's go to the Brits, because we really haven't talked about them. And that, of course, is their Sail GP team and Dylan Fletcher. And they are leading the Sail GP standings going into the 12th event.
For the first time.
Well, and for the first time. And well said, Julia. And that is in a month, 6 weeks' time in Abu Dhabi. Emirates on 85 points, New Zealand on 82. Tom Slingsby and his Bonds Flying Ruse, his underwear panties team. And Los Gallos, Julia.
Yes.
Los Gallos, as everybody says, but properly Los Gallos. Your team are on 76. Forget about the rest because they're not in the hunt. Richard, who's going to win Sail GP? And why?
Put it this way, I think the final's a complete crapshoot because the teams are so close in performance that one of them's only going to drop off the floors once, and that's gone. Or find a little patch of wind that no one else has got. Saw that in the last event where guys were just taking one side or the other. Suddenly a bit of wind popped up there. They got up onto the floors and they were a country mile ahead.
Yeah.
So it's very hard to call. I mean, maybe I'd sort of say Team New Zealand, but or New Zealand black foils, but any of them could win. And Spain, you can never rule out either. I mean, everyone had them counted out in the last.
Richard, who's going to win?
New Zealand.
You think the Kiwis will win? I wouldn't count them out. I still think on paper they and the Brits both, and the Aussies for that matter, have on paper just superb teams. And the good thing about Sail GP, we all know it, is that the top sailors on the planet are, for the most part, not everybody, but the top sailors are involved in Sail GP. And you got to give full marks to Russell and Larry. I don't agree with a lot of the stuff they're doing, or some of the stuff they're doing, but they've done it. And when everybody else over the last, including you and me, Richard, have talked about this sort of thing over the last 15, 20, 25 years, they're the only ones that have really made it stick. A professional circuit with the top people, with top sponsors, with Rolex, with events, 12 events in a year. Bloody hell.
It's going that. 13 next year, and it's 13 next year. And I think when Russell Coutts was talking sort of blue sky stuff in Auckland, he was talking about 18 events. So, they're onto a similar sort of thing with F1.
Hey, how good was that? How good was that event in Auckland last year? Was it as good as this? I'm talking about Sail GP. Was that as good an event as everybody said it was?
Yeah, it was brilliant. But the thing with Sail GP is it's a way, 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 way better product to see on the water than it is what you see on TV. I mean, the TV is just dreadful. They just really, ruin what could be a good event. And it's over-graphicked. The commentary's awful. And, they're killing it. But when you go to the event, they're just fantastic to watch. There's so much off-camera action. You can follow it really easily. People that have, seen there and talked to afterwards that have never been to an event like that before, they're just burbling about sailing. It's absolutely superb. Went into Portsmouth after the last one, and all the main street there was all, people sitting around drinking, eating at tables, all talking about Sail GP and what a great event it was. So,
you were in the UK for that event in Portsmouth?
Yeah. So I did that and then went on to the Admiral's Cup.
Mm.
But the SailGP, the buzz level with it was just huge. The setup they've got there is just absolutely humongous. I mean, it looked big in Portsmouth, but then you realise that all the boats were being kept mostly up in Southampton, and they were sailing for 20 minutes to get down to the venue. So it wasn't like in Auckland where you had the whole lot, crammed into Wynyard Point.
Mm.
But it is just such a fantastic event.
Well, there's a lot of agreement with you in the comments. Chris Fury saying, it was, of course, an Aussie over in Melbourne. I agree with Richard. I no longer watch SailGP. I like it. I'm enjoying watching it. But, man, the television, the shortness of the races, the use of kilometers per hour instead of knots, the maneuvers instead of tacks and jibes, it's cretonic. It's a big drinking party. With sailing on the side if they have wind. Yeah, they've got to have windy venues. There's for sure they got. And we keep saying that about our sport. Richard, that thing is going to happen now, the final SailGP event, and you think the Kiwis are going to win. Julia, you think?
I'm hoping.
But what do you think?
Well, I think that Spain could win it.
Okay, you're going to hope and think Spain's going to win it.
Mm-hmm.
And
because they're good in light air and they have a very, a light air strategy they follow.
I got it. Okay. And Chris is a Kiwi, of course, living in Melbourne, Chris Fury. So I don't know. He's a lot of people. John Collings looking forward to Perth, to Frio. I'd love to go back to Frio and see that event there next year.
Mm-hmm.
Alistair Murray says there's a lot I don't like about SailGP, but I can't help but watch it. That's exactly the way I feel, Alistair, and I hope it gets better. I'm cheering for Larry and Russell, and I hope that event, the last weekend of November, the 29th, 30th, and now we know who at least Julia and Richard think will win.
And who?
I'm going to stick with Tommy with Bonds Flying Ruse with Tom Slingsby and the Aussies. He's won it 3 times. Is it 3 times? Yeah. And the Spanish have won it once. And I think if there's wind, I think Tom will win it. If it's again, I mean, we could all be wrong. The Brits. That's the beauty. That's the beauty of sport. I mean, you just don't know who's going to win of those top 4 teams. As Richard said, somebody falls off the foils.
It's all over.
And good. Richard, final thoughts on the America's Cup, please.
Well, I think basically they've got to open up about what's going on. I mean, all this secret squirrel stuff is doing the Cup no good. It's not doing them any good in the market. We know it's not doing us any good in terms of our readership. And if the fans aren't following the Cup, well, they're clearly following something else. And maybe like me, they're all switching over to F1.
Tom's Flying Undies is what they're calling my team, the Aussies. Not because I'm the Tom, but Tom Slingsby's Flying Undies. Fabian Haraldson, in this wicked world we live in, I'm grateful there's such things as SGP and the AC. I'm grateful for people like Richard Gladwell who will come on the show and all of our other Fozy and Super Fozy, Julia, who do that.
Absolutely.
It's a delight to have you back on, Richard. It's been a while.
Yes.
Been great. Yeah.
Put the cover slide back up here. You like the cover slide?
Well, yeah. I mean, you guys do a good job for the sport. And I mean, I think that's, a really key thing to it, that people can come in and look at a show like this and you might agree with it, you might not, but I mean, at least you're getting an opinion and at least you're thinking about it. And if you can come up with a better way of doing something, well, maybe you've got your idea out of something you've heard on Sailing Illustrated. So,
or bring it here and give it to other people.
Well, yeah,
bring a good idea here. I mean, put it in the comments, and then if it's something really smart, it's like in the old days when you went to a U.S. sailing meeting, Richard, or even an IYRU meeting. If you could stand up in the committee meeting, put your hand up, and maybe as a punter in the back, they might call on you. You might say something once. And if you said something smart, you found yourself on the committee next year. Right. Same thing here. You say something smart in the chat, and we'll put you on the show.
Yep.
Right?
Right.
There's one other thing, though, too, and I'm commenting on sailing generally. I mean, it's just become far too Eurocentric. And, with the Cup going into Europe, yet again, that's deprived the Southern Hemisphere of another major event that they hold. But when you look at SailGP, I mean, they've one of the reasons I think for their success is that they've broken that mold, basically putting it right around the world. And, you know, everyone's got a home event that they can go to and see it, you know, at least once a year, or, you know, maybe, you know, drive for a bit and see 2 or 3. But, you know, that Eurocentricity of the sport is just killing it. It's killing it at Olympic level because, you know, the programs are just so expensive. It's great for the Euros, but, you know, you very rarely see championships in Olympic classes outside of Europe. And, you know, let alone when there's qualification.
Well, that's because Europe's got 30 or 35 votes at World Sailing. The U.S., the same size, has got 1 vote. Canada's got a vote. And, you know, the Antipodes, Australia and New Zealand each have a vote. And you're right. World Sailing is way too Eurocentric, and the sport is way too expensive, as John Sangmeister and others keep reminding us. We've got to cut down on the cost. Richard, thank you. Thank you very much. Can you stay? You want to stick around, or you want to get on with your Saturday? What time is it? 10:45 down there on your Saturday morning?
Something like that. Yeah. Yeah, but just, you know, the whole thing with the sport is it's just got to keep expanding. It's got to grow, and, you know, you've got to find ways of doing that and get the kids into it. But, you know, I think, you know, World Sailing's got a lot to answer for. I mean, I don't think since Paul Henderson left that it's been straight. It hasn't been straight with the sailors, and too many agendas running in there that are, you know, not necessarily for the benefit of sailing. And I don't think it's really happening in other sports. I mean, rowing could do it.
I got a call from Paul Henderson yesterday or the day before. I can't remember when.
Yeah.
I think what was yesterday? It would have been Wednesday. So this is Friday.
Yeah.
Wednesday. He called. I haven't talked to him in a long, long time.
We've talked about him.
He is as feisty, and he agrees. He totally agrees with you, Richard, and me. He says, you know, the sport needs to be run by the classes and the clubs, and that we need to have these regatta weeks where we used to all gather, and they were great for the sport. And now that we've got these monopolistic classes that are run effectively by investors and friends of World Sailing, not by the owners of the boats in those classes, which is what we're going to cover on next Tuesday's show with Luca Devoti. He has some very strong views, and we'll be talking about that on Tuesday. Richard, thank you very much indeed. Much appreciated.
Yes.
Thank you.
We'll
By
talk.
the way, great foiling boat that Luke has got.
Is it? Have you sailed it, or you've seen it?
I've seen the video of it. It looks superb.
It does. Well, we'll play a video of it, I'm sure. I played once or twice when he had earlier versions of it. But now, and John Emmett agrees that it's quite a cool boat. He's, I think, sailed it. Chris Otorowski is on. Commodore Otorowski, back from Europe, up in Seattle, presumably. Great to hear, Richard. Thank you, Richard. Refreshing views, Chris Feary says. We'll talk soon. Ciao for now.
Sure.
Bye.
Have fun.
Of course. Julia, did you enjoy that?
Obviously, I always love him. Richard.
Everybody that comes on here, you say you love.
Well, I'm allowed.
You are. You are indeed. Okay, shall we move on to John Emmett's Coaching Corner? I should turn up the audio so we can hear his theme song. Coaching Corner, Super Fuzzy John Emmett, reporting from Weymouth on another one of our favorite topics.
Hi, Tom, Julia, and all the Fozy. I thought this was a super appropriate background here at the Weymouth and Portland National Sailing Academy to talk about Olympic and Paralympic sailing. Now, it's a really busy time of the sailing calendar and the sailing cycle. And by that, I mean we have a 4-year cycle for the Olympics. We have America's coming up, and now we have the annual SailGP. So there's an awful lot going on. Now, if you haven't done so already, please do share, because I think we want to grow our audience. There's a lot of good messages coming out, and actually it's through active discussion that we can really improve our sport. And the thing that worries me now, there's a lot of talk about the format, which is, of course, a very good thing to discuss. That is the format for the Olympic Games. But the thing really close to my heart is the Paralympics, and it's really important that we don't forget about this. So on a local level, if you have the opportunity to promote, publicise, run para sport, that's something which is really important make sure that sailing really is as inclusive as it possibly can be. And I think one of the big issues is that it's now a little while since it was a Paralympic sport that some people have even forgotten. Now, at this stage, I was really hoping to have some good, positive news. I do think there's a strong possibility, a little bird tells me, not quite as good as the one here, but a little bird tells me, of funding becoming available for a couple of years, 2026, 27, but we need to keep on the pressure. And there's some wonderful personalities, and that's what I think that's what the media should be all about, that telling the stories of these people rather than just, who wins the final race on the final day. So please do keep up the pressure to get parasailing back in the Olympic Games. Sail fast, sail safe, have fun.
That's John Emmett, of course. Super Fozy from the UK is rarely has missed a show in 5+ years, Julia.
Yes, yeah, absolutely amazing.
The Coaching Corner, John Emmett Sailing, get to the front of the fleet. And of course, we've all been pushing for exactly what he was talking about, getting sailing back in the parasailing back into the Paralympics, Brisbane 2032. I hear regularly from Alistair Murray and other Aussies. They're hard at work on that. And John's right. We need to get as many people sailing in as many para events around the world as possible, including in Oman later this year. And also, we're going to be reporting in a moment about a para event going on. Actually, part of this Barcelona regatta, they've included parasailing. Brisbane 2032. Warren Chaucer is reminding us, yes, thank you. And that's what we need to do. I also, apropos what Richard was saying, Julia, I also think that Richard is dead on, spot on, and everybody is. Russell and Larry have got to take note, because it's not just you or me or the Fozy, a lot of the Fozy that comment about SailGP's commentary and the whole television presentation.
Yeah.
And their numbers, frankly, if you look at their YouTube numbers, for example, I don't know about their broadcast numbers, but they're not huge. I mean, they're not huge numbers. But Richard's right. They need to do something about that. Over-graphicked, too much cutting, too MTV-esque, yada, yada, yada. But the other, Otarowski's in San Diego now. But the other thing that is good about what Russell is doing, and he's always talked about this, and he's been right, in my opinion, is to highlight, to celebrate, to push to the fore the sailors. And the Lisa Darmanin walking around and interviewing before and after, getting the sailors, not just the drivers. Please, can we have them be called skippers? Not just the drivers, Julia, but the tacticians, the trimmers, the wing trimmers, the flight controllers, and so on. So good stuff. Bravo Zulu to that. Speaking of, now, there was a method to my madness, as usual, on how I put these shows together.
Yes.
Pleased to report that the 2.4 meter worlds, they're calling it the Inclusive World Championship, yet another regatta at Lake Garda in Italy, at Malcesine. And bravo Zulu to this class and to the reportage that they're getting for this inclusive 2.4 meter world championship. It's officially begun today in the waters of Lake Garda, and hosted by FVM. The 56 athletes from 17 nations faced the first day of racing with the Aura. That's the southerly on Lake Garda, as most of you will know, that started off gently but strengthened throughout the afternoon, allowing 3 races to be completed under a stunning sunset and an increasingly golden evening light. Well, it's late in the year in the Northern Hemisphere. A lineup of top names in the class made for a competitive and high-level opening day, though the championship standings remain wide open. And there is another beautiful shot at what Alistair Murray calls his favorite sailing venue in the world, Lake Garda, Lago di Garda. At the end of the first day, USA's Jeff Linton is leading the provisional rankings with a series of 142, followed by the Norwegian Mikael Beckfold, I hope that's right, in second, and GBR's Megan Pascoe in third. Bravo, salute to them. The day concluded with an aperitif, Julia, at the Yacht Club, hosted by the Balak Bar and Bistro, and accompanied by beer kindly offered by Bireri Stiegel. Tomorrow's program starts at 1 o'clock. They start late there. It's another reason for it's so much fun. You can party at night, and you don't have to be out on the water to race until that southerly fills in normally after 12 noon, usually around 1 o'clock in the afternoon. 2.4-meter yachts, cool design and affordable. Nice. Have to sign out. Fritz Mueller, goodbye to you. And down in Miami, where it's nearly 6 o'clock down there as we're closing in on 3 o'clock here in San Francisco. Thanks again to all of you who've tuned in from around the world. We now have another contribution from a Superfozy, the aforementioned Alistair Murray with his AAAA. Alistair's awesome Aussie anecdote from this fabulous club in Melbourne who had just had their opening day last Saturday, the 4th. Sandringham Yacht Club's opening day. Anything nautical was the theme. People could show up in their pirate costumes. They could show up in whatever they damn well wanted. And look at on the right, Julia, look at the list of activities, family-oriented, kids-centric, if that's the right word, ice cream served in the members' bar, a DJ, complimentary sausage sizzle on the deck, and then they had that band that plays often at that club. Bravo Zulu, good stuff. Last Saturday, Sandringham Yacht Club's 114th. There, I did have that right at the top of the show. Alistair was there, of course, and he wrote this note, Tom. Good day, Tom. I'm so thrilled to have reached the beginning of our season here in Australia. The clocks have gone forward. The weather is warming up, and the clubs around the country are getting into full swing, full gear. We had a beautiful day for our opening day at Sandringham. We thought we had 50 to 100 boats sail past the Commodore, but an accurate count revealed it to be 165.
Wow.
I will send you a few stills and a couple of videos. Sorry, my interview with the Commodore, get your finger ready, Julia, is a bit raucous. And first, the sail by, shot by Chris Fury.
Very good.
You can hear Alistair saying, happy opening day.
So I'm here at opening day, Tom, Julie and all the Fozy, and I'm here with Chris Fury. Chris, say hello to the Fozy.
Good day, Tom, Julia and all the Fozy.
Who, as we mentioned, his wife is the Commodore. He sent me a note. He teases me the way, you hear John say in his segment just now, he said, well, it's not as good as a one hears, but it's a little birdie to him. He's, he's making fun of me.
Of course.
Of course. And look at this. I'm so thin-skinned, I can't take this abuse. I'm often called upon to photograph Sandringham Yacht Club events and love doing that. Very proud of my great club. Mrs. Fury is SYCC. He's mocking me. Esteemed Vice Commodore, until she assumes the top job in September next year. Assuming she plays her cards right, Chris, you better tell her to keep her. We're all cheering for her. That's from Chris Fury, of course. And now a couple more pictures and a video from Alistair. This is, speaking of esteemed gentlemen, that's Richard Hewitt, who is the CEO, the general manager of Sandringham Yacht Club.
Nice.
And I like that the general manager, Julia, of the yacht club is there with the members out on the water watching that parade, and he's had a beer. Yep. It's not like he has to be aloof and, calling everybody Mr. and Mrs. He's got his arm around Alistair, and I'm sure they're good mates, but I like that Aussie style a lot. And here is Alistair's awesome Aussie anecdote for today.
G'day, Tom, Julie and all the Fozy. This is AAAA. Alistair's awesome Aussie anecdote. The Sailing Illustrated. You got that?
Fantastic. AAAA.
And I'm here with the Commodore of Sandringham Yacht Club, Mark Welsh. Welcome, Mark, and cheers.
Thank you, Alan. Cheers.
And what are we here for, mate?
We are here for the 2025 SYC opening day for the summer season.
Yeah. And how good has it been? We've done the sail pass, right?
We've done the sail pass. We've turned up some pretty awesome weather, and I think all our members are pretty happy.
Yeah, the best that I can remember. And how many boats went past, do you reckon?
I reckon they're probably up to 50.
Keep going. And by the way, Chris Fury is filming this. Hello, Chris.
Hello, Chris.
And Chris reckons there's 100 boats.
100 boats.
Yeah.
Okay, it might be a bit underdone.
And the yacht club's going well?
The yacht club is fantastic. Our members are pretty happy.
3,100 members?
3,100. We're going through the renewals at the moment. We're hoping that everyone's going to renew again this this year. Why wouldn't you? It's a great place to be.
And what have we got ahead of us for this season?
Oh, look, this season's going to be pretty busy. We've got a few state and national championships leading up to a world championships as well. The usual amount of activity on Thursdays, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday over the summer season. So lots on here again.
This is great. Cheers, Mark. This is only the best yacht club in the world. What do you think?
Well, look, I've done a bit of research and I can't argue.
And I think, sorry about the background noise, I think there might be a few people who would argue with that, some of the phrases from their own clubs.
Look, let them come out here and check it out themselves and see.
And we've got the ICOYC conference.
We do. ICOYC World Forum coming out here in March 2027.
We've been
probably April 2027.
April 27th. See you all here. We've been heckled here. It's quite a party. Cheers, Mr. Commodore.
Thank you, Al.
And Chris,
Good to
thanks
see
for the camera work. Cheers, over and out. Bye.
Cheers.
I so love to hear these segments from various yacht clubs.
Yes.
We like to feature yacht clubs, and perfect. Why don't more of the FOSI, please? Why don't they go to their club, interview their Commodore, tell us what's going on in their club's sphere, in their immediate, and how many members they have, and what's going on. I think it is great. Thank you, Alistair. Thank you, Commodore Welsh, Mark Welsh. And they got back to shore after being out on the water for the parade. Look at that. I mean, the club is just fizzing, as the kids would say.
Yes.
There's Alistair now with the Boating Industry Association CEO on the right, Steve Walker, who's another esteemed gentleman who was there. And Alistair, of course, knows them all, is celebrated by them all. And as you said, Julia, it looks like they were having a great time. And it all wrapped up Saturday night with a big dance featuring Haley Davis and JT.
Oh, good.
Sounds like it was a great party, a great time. Yeah. Bravo Zulu to Sandringham Yacht Club on their 114th opening day. Now, you know how I figured that out? Because it's not in their, I couldn't find it on their website. I couldn't find it in any of the materials that Alistair sent me. So I asked ChatGPT.
Oh, good.
And it returned, it came back with, the club was formed in this year, and it was started doing that, and then the club burned down and they built a new clubhouse. And I said, please, can you tell me? And finally, ChatGPT found something from last year, and it came back and said, well, not sure I haven't seen anything what it is this year, but last year was the 113th. So, great. And then ChatGPT said, well, that means it probably is this year is the 114th. Well, you never know.
That's neat.
ChatGPT. Changing the world. Pretty soon, in a year or two, we'll be able to say, prepare the Sailing Illustrated deck and prepare some crouton to sit here and do the hosting, and some sub-crouton to do the co-hosting, and that's what we'll do. We'll probably have some surrogate Gladwell, too, to come on the show. He's on there watching and listening. He'll come, some Sail GP person. You won't know if it's fake or if it's memorized. Yeah. If it's fake news. Okay, Bravo Zulu. Thank you, Alistair, for the Royal Naval Band's is his theme. Alistair's awesome Aussie anecdote, regular. And I got another one from a FOSI. This is the first time we've had four counting Richard on the show. The Annapolis Sailboat Show is going on at City Dock in Annapolis, Maryland, the other cultural heart of our sport in this country. San Diegans and a few others might argue with that. Certainly New Orleans, San Diego, Seattle even. Great sailing parts. I mean, our little hometown, our home state at least, in Michigan has more shoreline than just about any other state in the country. Did you know that?
No.
Michigan has more shoreline up there. You can always tell somebody from Michigan because they put their hand up like that.
Yeah, I know.
Say, well, I'm from Ann Arbor, which is down here in this corner. But our state has a lot of shoreline, and it is a lot of sailing and a lot of boating. But I digress. The Annapolis Boat Show is going on this weekend. It always takes place on our, what we used to call Columbus Day weekend. And at that show is Dawn Riley with her Oak Cliff crowd. And they've got a new program called Refit My Ride. Not Pimp My Ride, which the car guys, remember there's a television show called Pimp My Ride.
I missed it.
Oh, it was great. And maybe still on, where they take some junker in and the guy says, or maybe not even a junker, but he says, no, he goes into one of these shops. So there's a word for them. And they fix the car up and they had a lot of chrome and a lot of fancy wheels and a lot of fancy stuff. Pimp My Ride. Julia.
Okay.
Only this is Refit My Ride, and it's a new program that I'll explain in a moment after we hear from Dawn.
Hi, Tom, Eamon, Julia, and the Fosse on Sailing Illustrated. We are here at the Annapolis Boat Show. I got Lisa with Predict Wind. She's gone around the world. We're walking down the dock. We just passed North Sails, one of our partners, and we are looking for the bitter end because they have a really cool provisions tent. What we're doing here is we have Far 40 Blue, which is our oldest Far 40. You guys will appreciate the fact that the biggest question we've had so far is, what's the size of your wheel all about? Because as you're seeing here, almost everybody has dual wheels or tillers, or they're kind of big cruising boats. One of the questions from somebody was, is it all catamarans again? I'm going to surprisingly say no. There's a lot of monohulls. There's a lot of European companies here. They're winning some of the awards. Lisa was at the boat show, the Power Boat Show, and how's the difference here?
It was pretty quiet last weekend. This is amazing. The first day turnout was unsurpassed last week.
It was great. And so we talked to Tylaska, who is another partner of ours. They said they had their biggest Thursday ever. So if anybody's pessimistic, this is a place to be optimistic. We have the Refit My Ride. If you go to the Oak Cliff Sailing calendar and you sign up on the Refit My Ride, we are we are raffling off prizes for, one of them is the Gill 50th anniversary jacket. We have some Hobie sunglasses. We have some Oak Cliff swag. And then what else? Oh, racingcalendar.org. That is a place where you want to upload all of your events. So if you're an event organizer and you want people to come to your event from outside of your club, outside of your area, make sure you go to racingcalendar.org, download the template, and then send it to us and we'll upload it. And here we are at Far 40 Blue. Hi guys.
Hello.
And I'm so excited because we are currently down below installing the Nature's Head composting toilet. And believe it or not, this will be the first Far 40 we believe with a composting toilet. So anyway, I might talk to you later. I might send another one in, Tom, but anybody in the Annapolis area, come see us. Oh, if you use Oak Cliff 25 as the code, the boat shows donate $5 back. So have a great day, and we'll see you soon.
Nice.
Composting toilet illustrated. I think it's great. Now I got to explain what. First of all, I just want to say that Dawn, thank you very much because I talked to her the other day. We talk, not all that often, but once every other week, three times a month. And we were talking about the Olympics. We were talking about something. I can't remember even what it was. And she said, she was driving down to Annapolis from Oyster Bay, New York. That's a bit of a drive, It's a 5-6 hour. In fact, Claire was driving from her home in Greenwich, Connecticut, down to Annapolis for the FAILS. She's on the FAILS committee, which is the Naval Academy's advisory committee to run naval sailing for this. And it's a bit of a deal.
Yes.
But anyway, it's a long drive, and she'd call or I call. I can't remember. We're talking. I said, hey, when you get there, why don't you do a dock walk and do a John Emmett style walkabout video?
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. One take, just send it. And if I have to edit it a little bit, I will. That was it. What you saw is what I got this morning.
Good.
And it was really good. And she's going to do more.
Oh, that's
And
great.
if there's anybody else who wants to do similar to that, again, the invitation is open. I think we've had Gordon Smith. We've had one or two others do similar things. You see on the pole there, on the piling there, at the dock next to their Far 40.
Yes.
And it says,
something My Ride.
Refit My Ride. In fact, it says a Refit My Ride partner. This is a new program that Dawn has. And there is her logo again. And I asked her this morning on the phone to explain this to us. So here's the deal, Julia. She and Oak Cliff and her people have now they're signing up companies who are going to be available to help people upgrade, pimp their boats, refit their rides, to put it politely. So let's say at Bayview Yacht Club, I used as the example in Detroit, where she's a Michigander, which is why, by the way, Dawn, I wore my green sports jacket and a white shirt in honor of your Michigan State Spartans, who are green and white. So she said, yes, what we'll do is a boat or 2 or 5 get together, and they say, we want to upgrade, we want to fix up our boats. And this is, but we don't know how to do it, and we don't know what stuff to get. We don't know what the best stuff is. So you call up Dawn or you do it online, and she and these Refit My Ride partners, whether it's a Harkin or a Ron, I don't know if Ron Sand's involved, Alistair will know, but or a North Sales or a porta potty, composting toilet head. She'll say, here's what we've got. We've got special pricing on this. We can do 5 of those for your 5 boats at Bayview Yacht Club. It won't cost you, it'll cost you a lot less than if you try to do it yourself. Plus, we're expert on all this stuff. And she's not asking for any sort of fee. Now, I'm sure she's getting something. I hope she's getting something from the partners who are the suppliers of this stuff, who sign up with her to help in this program of refitting people's older yachts. And there are a lot of older yachts around.
There are.
All over the country and beyond. So that's her idea. That's her vision. That's the program.
It's a great idea.
The owners don't have to pay a thing. They just pay for the equipment, obviously.
Yeah.
But they don't have to pay Oak Cliff or Dawn. Now, if they want to make a contribution to Oak Cliff.
Never refused.
For the support. She's trying to raise an additional $600,000, I think, this year or in the next couple of years, because she's got some, she's got a couple of big, one in particular, big hitter, and she's always fundraising, doing a great job. So that is one of her initiatives. The other initiative is this calendar that she's been on the show months ago and told us about, oakcliffracingcalendar.org. She has put together, and I looked at it this morning. It's quite impressive. It's quite extensive. And you can go online, add your event, any event, large or small, world or otherwise, categorize it using the template so they all look the same. That's at oakcliff.racingcalendar.org. And there is, at least for this country, and I think beyond, the most, there's a jet. The most comprehensive calendar available in the sport. Bravo Zulu to Dawn Riley at Oak Cliff Sailing Center. And, of course, our Fozy, in addition to Dawn, Peter Taylor, Larry Kennedy, and a number of others spend a lot of time there volunteering their time and effort for Oak Cliff and that part of Long Island Sound. World Championships, we've been telling you about the World Championships for the NACRA 17 FX and 49er classes going on as we speak. Here is the latest video.
Welcome to day 3 of the 49er FX and NACRA 17 World Championships in Calgary. We're at the halfway point of the event, marking an important day for the 49er and 49er FX fleets. Today, they split into gold and silver fleet.
I mean, the first day we succeeded in making the right decisions around the race course, but didn't have super good speed, but it ended up quite good. Yesterday we had better boat speed, but not so good decisions. So hopefully today we're gonna mix things together and that's gonna be enough, but we'll see.
The win delivered once again, and soon enough, we went racing. In the NACRA 17s, it was an excellent day for Gianluigi Ugolini and Maria Giubilei from Italy. Winning both their races today, the Italians now take the overall lead in the event. In the 49er fleet, the new leaders are the 2 Jacks from Australia, Jack Ferguson and Jack Hildebrand. In the 49er FX, the brand new Swedish partnership of Vilma Bobek and Ebba Berntsen take the lead, although they're tied on net points with Canadian sisters Georgia and Antonio Lewin LaFrance and are taking nothing for granted.
The first race win in the World Championships feels nice. It was actually kind of easy when you got the hang of it.
Yeah, we came in here expecting absolutely nothing and did not expect us to perform this well at this stage of the event, but it's now, we also remember that now is the real regatta starts when we go into Gold Fleet tomorrow, and we're just happy to kind of do the first check and make it to Gold Fleet, and now we take it from here and mainly learning and just enjoying sailing together. Yeah.
From Friday through to Medal Series on Sunday, you can follow all the action for yourself on our live stream broadcast. We look forward to seeing you there.
What a great sport.
Yes.
Vilma Bobeck's a hell of a good sailor. I know her not well, but terrific video. Thank you, Andy. And we will be watching carefully on Sunday, not live. I don't know if they have live coverage. They may.
He said they did.
Is that what he said?
Yeah.
Well, I will for sure look at it. We'll talk Tuesday because remember, this is not a medal race. The format we discussed, we told you about on Tuesday that they've come up with, which is taking 4 boats into a final race.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of sail GP style, except that whoever wins, I'm not even going to go through it again. It's too confusing.
Yeah.
It's too confusing for prime time, in my opinion, but we'll see. And we'll talk about that on Tuesday. Finally, the last leg. This is a cool regatta. I've been once, and I think we always have to talk about it. But in the last leg, there is this event of note taking place. It's been going on now for 12 days. I had no idea it has evolved into such a long event. It is, of course, the Barcelona. This is the 57th edition. It's going on. You know what that little town is, right? It's not such a little town, Julia, right there with the Society Velica di Barcola e Grignalo. Grignalo, I think it's pronounced. SVBG is the host club for the Barcelona 57. You know what town that is? There in the Adriatic. That is in Trieste. It's billed, and I believe it is, the world's largest annual regatta. It started on the 1st. There's so many events, 600 events going on in this 12-day period. The big thing is on Sunday. They have this 13 nautical mile race on Sunday. It's light air, generally, almost always. And there are over 1,700 yachts registered for Sunday's finale. Now, this will warm the cockles of your heart and John Emmett's heart, is that in addition to all these other things, they have maxi racing, they have one design racing, they have some other big boat racing. They're also doing this event, which is the Eurosaf Parasailing Championship. Eurosaf is the European Sailing Federations as a group. They band together. It's the Continental Organizing Committee, a continental group.
Oh, that's
like
good.
the Pan American Yachting Organization, PAO, for all the countries here in the Western Hemisphere. But they have, in addition to 600 events, included in these 600 events, the Eurosaf Parasailing Championship. Today, Friday alone, they had these 20 events.
Wow.
Summit of the Sea, kids stuff, photo exhibitions, 20 works for 20 regions, artistic heritage in tell me what. It's just on and on and on. This is a regional, indeed national festival celebrating our sport, passion for the sea. And here is a television report about what's been going on in the last 12 days and what will go on in this race on Sunday.
Yeah.
The longest Barcelona in history because it starts on October 1st and ends on October 12th. A Barcelona that stretches from the city center of Trieste, from the outskirts to the municipalities of the Karst, and then arrives in Friuli, in Cavazzo, Grado and Lignano. Many different sports, a sailing that is growing with already 800 registered for the Barcelona. So there is a great desire to be at sea, and I must say that this year's slogan, "Where passion meets the sea," is already a reality. Almost 600 events included in 235 events in 12 days and 7 locations. These are the numbers of the Barcelona 57 scheduled from October 1st to 12th, the day of the Autumn Cup. An increasingly inclusive event that reflects on important issues such as the role of women in sailing and in society, environmental protection and the development of water sports. Barcelona 57 is centered in Trieste, but it also takes place in Grado, Lignano, the lake of the 3 municipalities, the Tagliamento River, and all the municipalities in the Trieste area. It is a very important event for us. We have been a partner and main sponsor of the Barcolana for over 40 years. We have many initiatives. For me, this is the 4th time I have participated in the Barcolana, and it is exciting because it is a celebration for the entire city. I believe it showcases all the qualities of this wonderful city. With a myriad of sporting, musical, literary, and other events. The Barcolana Village returns with 200 exhibitors, sponsors, partners, and institutions. The Barcolana also confirms itself as a great showcase for the territory.
Barcolana has been a lever for territorial marketing to make Trieste known to the world. Today, the focus is on the quality of incoming visitors, the quality of hospitality. We will try to guarantee, together with all the local institutions, services for all those who will come to participate in the Barcolana to make the experience unique.
Why don't we have more of these around the world?
Oh gosh, it was incredible.
And maybe there are. And
Yeah.
I've been there once, and it was almost by accident, but I did go down when we were living in Germany. Yeah, Germany. And it's that race, by the way, on Sunday, which starts at 10:30 in the morning. It's only 13 nautical miles, and there are fully, I don't know what the number is.
1,700.
17 is what I was told. I think they had pre-registered 800 boats from that video. But here's the race course. They start right, as you can see, here's the starting line. The city front, there's the club, and there's the city front right there. And they start out here in the middle, but it's just an absolute madness. This is not a huge area. I mean, where they're racing this, they go to windward, 4.2 nautical. Normally it's a windward, but it, who knows, depending upon the conditions. They go out and turn buoy 1, then buoy 2, it's really an offset mark, go back down to mark 3 and turn to the right, take it to starboard, and then go in to the final, to the finish, the arrivo, right in front of that pier. I mean, right in front. And there are hundreds of thousands of people. It's astonishing.
It's incredible.
And it is a cool event. And it's been going on for 57 years. And as you heard on that video, which I don't know where I found that this morning. Yeah, it's probably a computerized AI-generated voice, Ed Worley. But so what? They took the Italian. Otherwise, we wouldn't have known what the hell they were. I wouldn't have what they were talking about. 13 nautical miles. Bravo Zulu starts Sunday morning with over apparently 1,700 yachts. And I want a poster. Margarita Marshall, if you're in Italy or have access, or somebody else says, would somebody please send me the poster? I think it's fabulous. It looks like the pyramids on the water in Trieste. Bravo Zulu, the Barcolana 57, which brings us to the D block, Julia, your favorite segment, with the world's most interesting man, Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. Now, remember we were talking some time ago, we were talking about the Beatles album, Sgt. Pepper, and the White Album, and so on. Well, we can reveal here, thanks to Chris Fury, speaking of Chris, the Beatles White Album 50th anniversary T-shirt.
I have the Beatles White Album.
I know you do, upstairs.
Yeah. And
it's a little, how shall I say, it's a little overexposed, but all it is in this slide is a white T-shirt. That's all it is. The Beatles White Album 50th anniversary T-shirt for $99.99 plus $5.95 shipping and handling. Okay, it's a joke. Thank you, Chris Fury. Plain white T-shirt. Don't drive like a
wanker.
Doesn't that get a finger wag?
Yes.
Huh?
Yes.
Don't drive like a wanker. That's apparently in South Australia. This show has gone from Australia to here to Annapolis to Europe to Weymouth. I mean, we've been all over the map today. Italy, beyond. Don't drive like apparently it's a real billboard. That is courtesy of who else? Ted Ryman.
Of course. Yes.
Julia, this is dedicated to you and me, or at least to me. I don't know about you, but it feels weird being the same age as old people.
Oh, absolutely.
How did we get so old?
I don't know.
Huh?
I don't know.
We show on the cleavage camera one more time. How did we get so old, Julia?
I don't know.
That came from Clayton Embley. Thank you, Clayton. You make me feel really good. A lot of it, several people sent us this, probably 5 or 6 people. Sailboats are vital for survival. Dinosaurs didn't have them. And look how that turned out. Okay, enough for the Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. We end with Blake Middleton's slide as usual. All the smartest people sail. Said, I don't know if Albert Einstein ever said that, but he was a sailor.
And
An avid sailor,
Yeah.
and apparently not a very good one. He was absent-minded.
That's right.
I've read reports
Yeah.
that he was a bit of a crouton, which gets us, Julia, to the finish line after 2 hours and 21 minutes for today's show. And at this point, you like to say,
Don't forget to like and follow and share.
indeed. Comments are welcome, even in replay. As you all know, we leave them open. We're one of the few shows that do because we trust everybody.
And go back and read them. They're really fun.
Interesting point. Thanks to everybody who gives us a few bucks a month to help keep us on the air. Without your support, there's the Skycam, Julia.
Yes.
The studio Skycam. Without your support, we couldn't have this equipment. We couldn't pay our streaming fees. A few bucks a month, patreon.com/join/Sailing Illustrated, or send us a bottle of booze like Clayton Embley does. I haven't poured any in your coffee today, Julie, because I knew this was going to be a long show.
I'd be sound asleep. Yeah.
Patreon.com/join/Sailing Illustrated. Thank you very much for your support. Much appreciated, as are those who have let us use audio, video, and images for today's show. Julia, final thoughts.
Yes, Alex Hayworth reminded us that our 10,000, our 1,000th Sailing Illustrated show will be during the 2027.
Well, we do about 100 a year. So
He's evidently
calculated. I don't know. We'll see. Another 100 shows. We're at 870 something now. 800, what? 73, did I say?
I think so.
And so another 100 shows a year from now. Well, that's only a year from now. The Cup is 2 years from now. That'll be another 200 shows. Less than 2 years from now. I don't know how they're ever going to get the Cup going, Julia.
Yeah, I don't either.
Hey, everybody, have a great weekend. Remember that on Tuesday, we're going to have Luca Devoti with us, and that's going to talk about the Olympic classes and the conflicts of interest that he sees within world sailing, some of the money that's flowing around that he thinks is just doing bad things for our sport. Please join us for Tuesday's show, as always, at 1300 Pacific.
He's always entertaining.
And he is always entertaining. In the meantime, have a great rest of your weekend wherever in the world you are. See you on Tuesday. In the meantime, sail fast, sail safe, and have fun. Ciao for now.